All of that, though, our next guest's life was changed forever when she took an at-home DNA test.
Victoria Hill discovered that her biological father wasn't the man who raised her, but her mother's fertility doctor.
And there was one more devastating twist when she found out that her ex-boyfriend was actually her half-brother.
As she shares this shocking story, Victoria is joining us live from her home in Connecticut. Good morning to you, Victoria. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Good morning. I wanted to start off by saying, first of all, you were looking into your DNA background, not because you suspected something, but because you had medical conditions.
Yeah, there just had been some health things going on that I just was looking for some clarity on. You know, I was a little curious about, heritage, and I had heard about the commercial DNA testing being able to provide a whole host of information. And so I thought it would be helpful and maybe clue me into some health clues in approaching my doctors with what I had going on. Never in a million years did I think I would find out all that I had.
So you never suspected this at all. So what happened the day when you got all the information back?
Yeah, so, it was a few days. I got the information and I very quickly just went to go look at the health stuff, and I had seen some half-siblings pop up, but I very quickly just dismissed it and thought it was an error, just, maybe it was some first or second cousins and it wasn't accurate, and so I kind of pushed it aside. But then I kept getting an email from a woman who I later found out was my half-sister saying, there's some information here. Let us know if you need or want to know more. And I, kind of thought it was like a 23andMe kind of gimmick, trying to get me to purchase the next plan up. But as she continued to push, she said, did your mother go to Yale Fertility Treatment Clinic to get help for fertility? And so when she had said that, it got my attention because I did know that much. I knew that my parents had struggled with fertility and went out to Yale to get help. And so she had my attention, and then she gave me the rest of the information, was that this doctor, my mother's fertility doctor, was in fact my biological father.
So, it's an extraordinary thing to hear that, Victoria, from us sitting here. Mm. How did it feel for you to suddenly get that information?
It was pretty surreal. It definitely took a little while to set in. I have to say that growing up, there was a part of me that felt a little different or distant. We used to have a joke that between my father and I that the only thing that was similar was our hands. So it was, in some weird ways, it kind of clicked, but then, it just seemed so bizarre, in the different stages of it. Not only is it not the man who raised me, biological father, but my mother's doctor that she went to for over 8 years of treatment trying to conceive. And then kind of bringing her the news and sharing that with her. She was not aware of this as well. So it was something that we kind of sat through together a bit.
The idea, it's extraordinary, the idea that the doctor that was treating your mum for fertility used his own specimen to inseminate her, and also, clearly, what has become more and more apparent, lots and lots of other women too.
We know now over 80 doctors that have done this. So
it was quite a common practice. Were there no regulations about it, Victoria?
No, and there really still are not. And that's why we're fighting so more. And that's why I'm bringing this story out, is to raise the awareness so that we can get some better laws and protections regulations out there.
Your mum's doctor is called Dr. Caldwell. Have you ever spoken to him? I know he passed away quite recently, but did you ever speak to him? Did you ever find him? Did you ever go to his house?
Yes, absolutely. So a couple, I would say, days to a week after, I spent a lot of time trying to find information on him, and I figured out that he lived about 45 minutes from me. So I got in my car one day and I drove to his house, and I didn't really have much of a plan, but as I got there, I just felt like my body was going through the motions of just, pull up the driveway, go to the door, knock on the door, and I did. And so his wife let me in, which was very kind. I can only imagine what was going through her mind. And I talked to him, and that's where he very readily admitted that, yes, this is something he did. And he, did it for over probably 20 years. When you asked him how many times, he just kind of shook his head. He had no idea. And when you asked him why, he was in the business of making babies. And there wasn't a lot of remorse. There wasn't a lot of concern. It was just this very matter-of-fact way of answering.
So you had no sense of professional compromise or moral compromise over what he had done at all?
No, I mean, the impression that I got was just, your mother wanted a baby, she got a baby. Wow. It was just that this was, I believe he might, he was a big part of founding the Yale Fertility Clinic, and so this was his life, and I can only imagine, obviously, the extreme measures that he went through to make this program work, which it creates this like cognitive dissonance, because on one hand, everybody asks, like, aren't you happy to be alive? And your mother wanted a child and she got a child. But on the other hand, I didn't want to be a product of fertility fraud. My mother didn't consent to his sperm. And I didn't consent to having, a growing number of siblings that will continue to grow, especially if he really did donate for over 20 years.
So you just mentioned then half siblings. How many do you know you have right now? And I think you're in very close proximity to each other. I think 4 you went to high school with.
Yeah, it's at 25 right now that we know of, and just every few months the number just continues to grow. I went to elementary school with a half sibling, that we just recently learned about, and there was 4 siblings in the same high school. And I mean, this was within a maybe 50-minute radius. And a lot of us are in New England still.
Goodness me. And of course, one of the things about this that is all the more jaw-dropping is you sat talking with 2 or 3 of your friends about what you had discovered, and then one of them, who happened to have been an ex-boyfriend, realised that the same thing had happened to him as well.
Yeah. It felt, we figured it out. There's a high school reunion, and I started sharing the information with some close friends, and fast forward to a dinner where some of us continued to get together. And it was at that time that, as I'm telling this story, my high school boyfriend and now friend kind of started to look like he was turning something over in his head, because his mother had recently also told him that the reason why him and his brother, also a really good friend of mine, his mother went out for fertility treatment with his father. And so Yale was kind of it at the time. So we just kind of assumed that she must have gone to the same place. And, he ultimately called his mother, and his mother confirmed that the same doctor had done her procedure. And so then it was a waiting game, and we all just kind of sat there in disbelief that this was something we were even entertaining, and we made jokes, but it just felt very surreal. And sure enough, within a couple of weeks, he sent me the screenshot that said, "You are my sister." And, the mind-boggling thing about it was just, as he sent me this screenshot, it also, you have the notification on your phone from 23andMe, you have a new half-sibling. And so just that realization, it felt like I was on the Truman Show. Like it's just one next thing that hits after another, and we still don't know what's to come.
No, it must have been terrifying, just even that thought of, he's your half-brother who was your boyfriend, but then you also look to the future, and all of a sudden, of course, there are other children involved that are now first cousins, but you don't necessarily know who they all are or where they all are. How are you looking at the future now, Victoria?
Yeah, and that's kind of why I'm doing this, because I want my daughter, who's 8 years old, she's very much aware, at her level as to what's going on, but I want her to be aware. I want her to know that she's going to have a lot of cousins, and we're going to have a lot of family members that, we could choose what we do with those relationships, whether or not we want to get close, but then also in dating and romantic relationships, it's going to be important for her and my son to also be aware, and all of us, all of the half-siblings that I have and our children. I think there's about 50 first cousins that we know of in the New England area right now.
But as Kat said earlier, Victoria, Dr. Caldwell passed away a few weeks ago. Has he ever faced any legal proceedings? Is Yale Fertility going to face any legal proceedings? Because, of course, there's so many of you that have been affected, and you're trying to get the rules changed, aren't you?
Right, yeah. I mean, there are some cases right now, but they're really not going anywhere because they can't. There's an issue of statute of limitations, current or non-existent, fertility fraud laws, which is why we're pushing so hard. There's 2 active suits right now, but again, I think it's kind of more of just trying to show that this wasn't okay, and allowing the victims to have a voice. But I unfortunately am not too optimistic about where the cases will actually go until there's better laws and protections in place.
We did reach out to Yale Fertility, but we haven't heard back from them. It's an extraordinary story, Victoria. You're very brave sharing it as well, but the importance of it is clear. So thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much for taking time to hear this and help me raise awareness.
Thank you, Victoria.
Just a remarkable, remarkable story.
And no limits on the donations or the amount of children that people have.
And a seeming disregard.
Yes.
For any concern as to what he
The
had done and how
area.
he'd done it.
Oh, hello. Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload tons of new content every single day. So hit the subscribe button, like all the videos, and don't miss out. We'll see you in the morning.
We are joined now by disability lecturer Dr. Erin Pritchard and former performer still, Tune Tan. Good morning to you both. You're still performing, aren't you, Tune?
Yes, absolutely.
OK, lovely. Erin, I just got to start with yourself because you had a lot of input in this film. You've actually helped direct these magical creatures, and did you help develop them?
Not so much the magical creatures, but the script development and other things within the film, which is kind of difficult to talk about because it's only been released today, so I'm not sure when I can say everything. But I was told when I was asked back in 2021 that they were going to be CGI, these CGI magical creatures. And I thought, well, yeah, because they're not people with dwarfism. They are Norse mythology dwarfs, like leprechauns and stuff, which are not, which is something that most people with dwarfism distance themselves from. And so I felt, right, because they've not got actors with dwarfism, that doesn't mean you can't have an actor with dwarfism doing something else in a film. Because if you just reduce them to that, what are you giving them, basically?
I guess what I was a bit confused about was looking at the trailer there. It looks pretty much like it's CGI dwarfs. So if it's CGI dwarfs, then why didn't they just use actors with dwarfism?
Well, there's two reasons with that. One, they're more like, say, these, different, like, gnome types sort of things. And secondly, most people with dwarfism who are professional actors who have a background in, performing arts, and like Danny Wood graduated from Temple University, Kieran Stamell has a background in performing arts. They won't touch this with a barge pole because they know the implications it has for the rest of us.
What is the implications of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs? What is the problem with this actual story? Because it seems like it's all right for dwarfs to play dwarf characters in some films, but not in others. So what is the issue with this film?
Well, when Walt Disney created it in 1937, obviously it was based on Grimm's fairy tale, but he based the depiction of the dwarfs on freak show representations. Now, the freak shows, we left them in the past because the ethical implications of seeing a disabled person as something you can stare at, a novelty, laugh at, and inferior. So now, as my research shows, when people with dwarfism, such as myself and any other person with dwarfism, they get asked, who's happy? Are you happy? Where's Snow White? Oh, she's grumpy. It'll be on social media. Oh, look, she's grumpy. Where's your 6 little friends? And start singing hi-ho at you. So there was a lawyer in Germany, and she went up to cross-examine a witness. He burst out laughing at her and started singing hi-ho in a court of law.
But
she was the lawyer, but the witness burst out laughing
But I guess you could argue that this is an opportunity, given the world we live in now, to reframe that narrative using actors with dwarfism. Can we bring Tuna? What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, from my experience, I've done pantomime Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and I think people can differentiate, from a movie to real life. And I think people that are going to make fun of you, they, look for a way to do it. I personally go out and people are like, oh, isn't it past your bedtime? Where's your mum at? They'll ask questions like, is it all in proportion? So I think they'll pick at anything, and I think those types of people. But people with common awareness, they will, show respect.
Tune, what would getting a role like this do for you?
It would be massive. A lot of people, a lot of famous actors now have used these as stepping stones, these kind of roles. They've done pantomime, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and we've always felt respected. So now they're doing big things, a lot of my colleagues, in massive movies.
Doctor, do you think dwarf actors who choose these kind of roles have some sort of responsibility to bear?
Yeah, because if you notice, the ones that actually have made it big, like Peter Dinklage, Meredith Eaton, Kieran Stamell, Fran Mills, they've never touched this role. Because if it's like a poison chalice, if you do this, they're not going to take you seriously because they're just going to see you as this person, oh, you sneezed a couple of times, well done, And yes, people should differentiate between fiction and reality, but as I've shown, they don't. And, you know, I had one woman saying to me, my daughter finds people like you hilarious. Will you dress up as Hello Kitty for her birthday party? Because that's what they see as us. So when, you know, and if you want to play that role, Disney, first of all, will want you to have a background in the performing arts, not just be like, I'm a dwarf, I deserve this role, I want to play it. They'll go, well, give us your resume. Well, hang on, you've got no background in the performing arts, and I can see you've played a goblin. No, I want a professional actor. That's what they're going to tell you. If it's someone that has trained hard, give them opportunities. It doesn't need to be Seven Dwarfs. Give them opportunities. And like I said, we can't say that Disney hasn't done that. You know, we just got to wait and see.
June, you wanted to pick up on the Peter Dinklage point, didn't you?
Yeah, I think Peter Dinklage has done a lot of roles where his height has been utilised, and I believe he has done Snow White and Seven Dwarfs pantomime before to, you know, to elevate his career. A lot of my colleagues as well have done that and got into, because you get acting credits from doing such things as pantomime, which is...
Yeah, because didn't Peter get his role in Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
Because they needed a dwarf in Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
that
Yeah.
right? So,
yeah, and his height was made fun of in Game of Thrones. You know, there was derogatory comments made towards him throughout the series.
I guess the difference there is that the whole narrative is he is the genius in the character. He's, you know, he is this incredibly intelligent man who happens to have dwarfism.
Yeah. And there's a difference between laughing at you and laughing with you, and having that, like Peter Dinklage, yes, what they showed in Game of Thrones, because like he said, no pointy shoes, no beard, so it wasn't the stereotypical dwarf. And yes, he showed the abuse that we kind of get, but also he had the comebacks. He was a rounded character, not just this thing that sneezed. And from my recollection, and I think it'd be very problematic if you say Peter Dinklage did panto, because they don't have pantos in America. They're British and sort of South American.
I guess the question is, though, who is to differentiate what part an actor with dwarfism should play and what part an actor with dwarfism shouldn't play? Like, culturally, what's acceptable, what isn't acceptable?
I think if you looked at it from would you put another minority group in a role where you go, we're just going to have them there based on that minority status?
I don't know.
And laugh at it.
Because, but I don't know. But are we laughing at this? Like, you worked on this film.
Well,
so
I'd like to think that with the minors, we're moving away from... And yes, I had a thing with the script. So if you look at the Disney, the 1937, you've got Dopey acting very animalistic, and we laugh at him. And of course, Dopey wasn't a dwarf. They based him more on somebody with Down syndrome. Now, I think people... If you were to say, right, we're going to have 6 actors with dwarfism and 1 with Down syndrome, people go, and you're letting him perform like that? We're laughing at someone...
But you're taking 1937...
Yeah, but it's still a Disney...
I'm talking about this film here.
Yeah, but it's still Disney, so they're still basing it on, like, having bashful, sleepy, you know, so on.
Well, I think times have progressed on, because I don't think they're being laughed at.
Panto.
I mean...
You are laughed at.
Well, let's talk about let's keep it at the film.
Everybody's quite laughed at panto, though, isn't it?
But like Tom Shakespeare says, when you come off panto, the prince takes off his costume. You've laughed at the dwarfs. They don't take off the costume. They're dwarfs that you laugh at. And that's...
From my experience, that's not the case. Like, afterwards, people coming up are showing respect. You know, the kids getting pictures of us. They're like, they look at us with admiration. Just
finish up, because we want this debate to be about this film rather than panto. But do you think whatever Disney would have decided, they'd have had problems with this?
Probably. I think, you know, because, like, quite a lot of people with dwarfism were saying to me, oh, no, I wish they'd just scrap it. Don't do the film. Don't just leave it in the 1937. Yeah. But I felt maybe we can progress this. Now, as you know, with, like, most of their remakes, there's CGI in it somehow, form or other. And like I said, it's not saying that just because these characters, these magical characters who are not people with dwarfism, are not played by actors with dwarfism, but because, like I said, professional ones that Disney would want are not touching that role. That doesn't mean that there aren't dwarf actors in other things. And of course, as the producer, he was like, right, well, I want dwarfs doing other things behind the scenes as well. Like, so there was you know, in editing, there was a dwarf when I was there doing access, like, you know, provisions around the studio. And when you make things more accessible, then you can get more disabled actors in that studio for future work as well.
It's fascinating to hear both sides, and Tune, is there anything you just want to quickly point out? Just so
absolutely. I think there's a lot of dwarf actors that do want to play this role, which is why there are protests, you know, coming up for this. And I think it's an opportunity for us. You know, it looks like an amazing movie. I would have loved to have played a part in it. Okay. And there's many other colleagues that I know that would have loved to play the part as well.
Yeah. Thank you both.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload new content every single day, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you in the morning.
Here now are Spirit and Missy, who definitely aren't one-trick ponies. They are therapy miniature Shetlands who visit schools, care homes and hospitals to boost people's moods.
That was certainly the case for 9-year-old Gracie, whose life changed for the better after meeting the pony. She's here now with her mum, Alice, alongside Spirit and Mrs. owner, Jess. Good morning, guys.
Morning, everybody.
Hello there. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Lovely to see you, Jess. Let's start talking to you first of all. So, your mum, first of all, rescued a Shetland pony.
Yes, her name was Amy.
Yeah.
And she was actually rescued off the back of a meat wagon. She'd had her foal ripped away from her. We lost her when she was 42 years old.
She reached a good age.
She did indeed. She had a very full life.
Yeah.
She was a typical Shetland, full of character.
Yeah. So this was where your passion started, essentially.
Yes.
So what impact do you see the horses having on people?
So horses are really non-judgmental and they just bring such joy. They just brighten up a room. I mean, Grace, as soon as she sees Spirit, that's it. You know, her heart's melted, isn't it? Yeah.
I thought one of the things as well, Jess, you explained that actually you were watching this morning and that's where you got the idea to use the Shetlands and the miniature ponies that you had in this way.
Yes. So it was KL pony therapy with the guide horse Digby. I was watching and it inspired me as I'd had Bella, my little black Shetland at that time, wanted to share the love and the happiness that I could see it would bring to many others that couldn't have that accessibility.
Yeah, they're absolutely gorgeous. So can you tell us who have we got here?
So this is Spirit, the teddy bear.
Yes.
Who stole Gracie's heart.
Yeah.
And this is Missy, the unicorn, who's also a little sassy pants.
Yes, and they're both very glittery.
They
and
are.
Very stylish.
Yes,
their
that's
appearance.
the magical unicorn, so coming out.
Look at
And look,
Gracie.
Gracie, you love Spirit, don't you?
Yes.
What do you like to do with Spirit?
I like to read her and give her lots of hugs.
Lots of hugs and cuddles. Does she ever misbehave?
Yes.
What does she do when she misbehaves? Does she run around and get excited?
Not listen a little bit, maybe.
Does she try and walk off stage?
And Alice, good morning. You're Grace's mum.
Yes.
So tell me, how did Gracie first meet Teddy?
So we started going to, Jess was running Easter events, so she runs lots of events during the school holidays. So we started going to those and we just noticed such a massive difference to Gracie. She'd been really struggling in mainstream school and we were awaiting a specialist provision. And my husband has a very complex medical condition. He spends half the year in hospital. So Gracie has a really hard home life. I think things can be really upsetting for her. And she's just so happy every time she sees Spirit. She counts down the days till we go, and then she loves it. And then afterwards, she's so much happier and so much more settled after. So I think it's like, it's not just when she's with Spirit, it's the before and after as well. It just means so much to her.
And her experience with spending time with the ponies means that she's been able to get back to school?
Yes, so she's just started at a fantastic new school and they have 2 therapy dogs.
They've got dogs as well.
Like Buddy, like our
Yeah.
Buddy.
Like our Buddy. So what are the dogs called, Gracie?
Snoopy and Rita.
And are they well behaved?
Yes.
OK. And I think some of your friends from school are watching this morning, aren't they? So if you want to have a look at camera 2, you can say hello. There you go. They're all watching. It's extraordinary, Jess, seeing the difference in Gracie, hearing what Alice is saying about the difference it's made to her life. We've seen people talk about the difference that Buddy will make eventually when he's properly trained and he can go and be a part of a family with somebody who's dealing with complex needs as well. What's it like for you and everybody that works with you?
It's amazing. It's inspirational. And it's so heartwarming to watch and actually see the progress of everybody. nothing else beats animal therapy to me.
No. Because you have other animals as well, don't you?
Yeah, so I've got the 4 therapy ponies, I've got therapy rabbits, therapy guinea pigs, we've got our star of the show, is a little cockerel who cock-a-doodle-oos on command.
On command?
On command.
And you got the idea, actually, for this therapy from seeing the show.
Yeah.
From on here.
I think it's one of the things that I've been lucky enough to work with a few animal therapy groups, and I've seen footage of the dinky donkeys going into care homes, particularly. And you do that with your ponies, don't you?
Yes, so we go into care homes, we go to schools, educational settings, hospices. We do a lot with Acorns Children's Hospice. We volunteer for them. And one of the most special moments was actually a lady that I met in a care home that was really subdued, didn't socialise at all. And I found all about her history, that she was a jockey in her earlier years. The staff knew nothing of this.
Because she didn't talk to anybody.
She didn't talk to anybody. She'd got no family. So, you know, it was a different life for her after that. She really interacted with the home. We did regular visits.
To be able to access, and you'll be able to speak to this with regards to Gracie's experience, access the opportunity to communicate with people thanks to these animals is just so important, isn't it?
Yeah, Gracie's always really struggled with her speech and language, but she really enjoys reading to spirits, so that's really good practice for her and really educational. So it's just been amazing. She's just loves it.
We can see how proud she is. And Gracie, we're very proud of you as well. So we've got your little present that we thought you might quite like. Of some bits and pieces in here that you can take to school and you can show your friends at school. There's all sorts of things in here. Are you getting some more stuff?
Yes, and we've got all the bits and pieces to take to school so you can show all of your chums and your friends. And look, it's like a unicorn.
Yes.
So it is actually... There you go, darling.
Thank you.
We're so proud of you. You're doing such an amazing job.
That's
And you
wonderful.
love it so much, don't you?
Yeah.
There you go, that's for you. Thank you for coming on the show.
Jess, thank you for bringing the horses in as well.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us. And,
That's no small mission, but it's lovely to have them in the studio. Really special. Makes us all feel
Absolutely.
very happy.
Thank
Oh,
you.
hello.
Thank
Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload tons of new content every single day. So hit the subscribe button, like all the videos, and don't miss out. We'll see you in the morning.
4-year-old Letitia Jones makes £5,000 a week from selling her toenail clippings, old bed sheets and even bottles of spit to strangers online.
It's extraordinary, isn't it? And after earning enough to pay off her debts and buy her first home, she's now helping other women, like Freya, to do exactly the same. They're with us both now this morning. Good to see you both. Thank you for coming.
Good morning.
So, Letitia, if we go back, because as Kat was saying, you had dreams and aspirations of being a doctor growing up.
Yeah, that's sort of kind of been the main thing, really. Like, I used to sit at home and, like, watch Casualty and stuff in front of the TV, and, like, that was kind of always where, like, my education had gone to. So I went to university and I studied biomedical science, and then I left in the second year.
So you had these aspirations of doing something and being a doctor and helping people. And, of course, now that's changed significantly in a very different world now. But what happened at university? Why were you on that path and then suddenly decided this isn't working?
I just think, really, like, I'm very money motivated, and I think when I was younger I didn't really understand to what degree that I loved to make money. So, like, the first kind of inkling of, like, when it was lockdown and, like, OnlyFans kind of came out on the rise, and I just thought, well, you know what, like, I can do it whilst I'm still in uni, like, it's not really that big of a deal. So that
you were
kind of
accruing
happened.
debts at university as well,
Yeah, and everything was just, like, one thing after another, and I just thought, oh, there's got to be, like, a better way to do this. Like, I was working a part-time job too, and everything was just, like, I just wasn't enjoying it. It wasn't, like, fulfilling me in the way that I thought that it would have done. So really the biggest factor was money.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's one kind of train of thought for doing OnlyFans. Where did the idea even come from? Had you heard somebody else was doing it and was making a vast amount of money doing it?
So it didn't come from anyone else, really, like another person. It came from a customer. So they'd messaged me and said, like, oh, this is, like, really weird, but I'm just wondering if, like, you will sell me your spit or shower water. And I was thinking, what on earth? Like,
yes,
think it was a joke
yeah,
or
yeah.
something?
What went through your head?
I thought at first like he was joking, like it was just someone like just trying to take the mick or whatever. So I was just like, oh yeah, whatever, like not expecting him to be like, okay, then actually send it to me. Like I didn't even know like what the process would be, how to send it, what courier I use. Like I didn't know anything. But it came from him, and he was just like, oh well, it's like a big like community of us who like weird and odd stuff. So I was just like, well, if it's there, then.
So then what did you do? Did you get onto Google and you were like, right, how much can I charge for this? What other things will
So I
people
actually
like?
charged £40 for the spit the first time, and that is, compared to now, what the prices are now is like shocking.
So how many years have you been doing this now?
So four or 5 years now.
OK, so in those 4 or 5 years, the amount that you sell these peculiar items to people for, to the men, has significantly gone up?
Yes.
OK, we'll come to that in a little bit, because that in itself is fascinating. How did you feel, though, about selling these things, very personal things that are sort of quite odd and a bit squeamish to think about? How did you feel about putting those in a post and sending it to somebody?
I think at the time when I first started, I didn't really think. I think only since like I've properly been posting on TikTok and like everybody else has kind of been like, oh, that's a little bit weird. I've then been like, maybe it is a bit strange. Like, I was just like, oh, whatever, like, blasé about it.
Because you were making money?
Yeah, so I wasn't really thinking. And, like, people say, like, oh, what if you get framed for a crime and blah, 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 like, they're cloning you. I don't really think too much into it, because I'm like, oh, well, you sell your clothes on, like, Vinted or eBay or wherever, and people are still getting a part of you. Like, you might leave your sweat on there, you might leave something on the clothes that you don't necessarily know of.
So one of the concerns that other people have had is if you're sending them your DNA, they could use your DNA to then sort of set you up for a crime down the line.
Yeah.
That feels like something out of a movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I hear what you're saying. However, the process of selling second-hand clothing on a platform like that you suggested, you don't think is that far removed from selling more personal, physical items from your being?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's a little bit naive. I don't know how far people think into it. I don't really like to delve too much into, like, thinking about it. I'm just like, well, somebody else is going to do it, so it might as well be me.
And tell me, who is your demographic? Like, who is your audience? What type of man or woman, actually? Yeah, customer.
Yeah.
Who would...
So it's really broad, like, it's very vast. Like, it could go from, like, being a lot of middle-aged, like, businessman to, like, a 24-year-old uni student or something. Like, there is no in-between at all. My customers usually are male, but, like, there's lots of customers on the websites that are also female too.
Okay.
You have bought your first property, paid off all your debts?
Yeah.
Bought your first property?
Yeah.
You're looking to buy another property now?
Yeah.
She's an entrepreneur.
Exceptionally lucrative
Yes, it is, yeah.
line of work. Do you find it satisfying?
Yeah. And I think from when I started and what I was doing in first to now, it's changed massively. Like, I feel so much more, like, comfortable, and my boundaries are so much more firm and in place, and I feel like I've got much more control over things now. So now compared to before, I love it.
What item is the most lucrative for you? What's the greatest sum of money you've earned for one item?
So the most expensive thing that I've sold is my spit for £1,500.
OK. And is that to a regular customer?
So I had a long-term kind of relationship with that person.
So he's developed a relationship with
Yeah. But on average now, like, there isn't anything really that's sold for less than, like, £400 or £500 from me.
Now, Freya's sitting alongside you because what you've started... I know, it's extraordinary.
It is amazing, though. No,
what you've started to do is you've started to reach out to other people who may be interested in it and help and guide them so they don't make the mistakes that you made up front.
Yeah.
How did you get involved then, Freya?
Do you know what? It was actually a bit of a weird one. It was in 2021. I came across Letitia's TikTok. It was your kitchen bin. And it was being, like, double bagged, put into a box, sent off. And it was just...
You sold your bin to somebody, Lydia?
Yeah.
The contents of
the kitchen bin, yeah.
OK, sorry. Freya.
So that absolutely... I know, it was like, what is going on here? So then I started following Letitia. It was probably about a year later. I then thought, oh, do you know what? I'm going to get her guide. Obviously, that's when it was your original.
Yeah.
And now you have a community of girls that you're helping. And you've bought in some things that you sell. Now, talk us through what you've got on the table down there, starting with this one on the right. Is that your hair?
That's my hair. It's a mix of my actual hair and my hair extensions, obviously, just to kind of bulk it out a bit.
And if you were to sell that, how much do you think you would get for that?
obviously I'm fairly new into this, so that's maybe like a £50 kind of
pot.
Would you?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, as you're building up your reputation in your
Yeah,
client base.
exactly.
Okay, next to that we've got...
Toenails.
My
Letitia's.
toenails.
These, I imagine, would be quite prized
Yeah.
possessions.
So I'm keeping those because the toes I've got on now need to also go in that pot. So that is £600 for customer. He's already bought them, but I can't give them to him yet. So
There's not enough.
Because he wants 2 sets.
yes.
Left and
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
And then next to that is your...
Acrylic nails. Those are actually sold.
Deaf soul.
So they're off tomorrow. I'm going to send those. So they went for 40.
40.
But they're just my, like, normal.
They're just your acrylics. And then there's some slippers as well.
Also sold.
Sold as well.
So they're off to America, those.
And they're off to America.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a long trip. What do your friends and family make of it?
So I think at first everyone was kind of like, Letitia, what is going on? Like, this is so strange. And I think because nobody really talks about it, nobody really knows that this is a real thing. But I think once everyone kind of got over the initial shock, everyone was just like, well, hey, if you're doing it and you're safe and you're enjoying it and you're making money and you're not feeling like you've got to do anything that you don't want to do, then hey, carry on.
And Freya, long term, I mean, obviously you're building up your business, but
Yeah.
long term, how far do you see into the future doing something like this, or do you see it as a stepping stone to something different?
I mean, I think Letitia's been such an inspiration. So really, just following your footsteps.
Just
So
doing what she's done.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you, Letitia, when you had aspirations to become a doctor, some of the best people in society, and helping those people, do you ever sort of think, God, what happened to that dream? Or are you thinking, you know what, I'm a businesswoman now, regardless of what my product is, I've got customers that I'm satisfying, and I'm building a life for myself and my family, and that's all that matters?
I think I see it as my main goal. I'm like a really caring person, so I think that my goal for being a doctor has come from wanting to help people. So I feel like with what I'm doing now with our community, like I am still helping the women, because I'm opening them up to something that they can do safely that they would not have known about before, and I'm making them and helping them make money in a way that they wouldn't have been able to before. So in my opinion, I feel like I'm doing the same thing, just in a different way. Like, I still feel like I'm helping people. I'm just not in a hospital.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's
absolutely fascinating. You would never think that...
There was a market for everything, really.
There is.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing
so
your
much.
story.
Thank you for chatting
I'm
with us
sure
this morning. Thank
our
you.
viewers will have very strong opinions about it.
I'm ready.
But, regardless, you have set yourselves up and you're sort of self-sufficient and you know you're safe, which is crucial as well.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Oh, thanks so much.
Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload new content every day, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out, and we'll see you in the morning.
Look, Jim is here to talk with us today about a cause that's very close to his heart.
After seeing the work conducted by charity Marie Curie firsthand, Jim is supporting them on their new campaign to fix end-of-life care.
Yeah, research by the charity has found that 1 in 4 people do not get the care that they need at their end of life. And so he's joining them with a call for the government to try and take some more action. This is a cause, as we said, very close to your heart. How did you get to know about Marie Curie, Jim?
I can't really remember, Ben. I mean, I've been an ambassador for Marie Curie for about 10 years. I can't remember what the initial connection was, but a very good friend of mine nursed his sister through the end of life. And she was only in her 50s and had terminal cancer, and he couldn't have done it without the support that Marie Curie gave him. I mean, but in sort of coming to the home, she saw the end of her life at home, which is what most of us would want, I think, wouldn't we, rather than in a hospital or a hospice. And seeing how they supported his sister and him, because the carer, I mean, obviously it's psychologically really difficult and exhausting to care for someone at that stage. So I thought, well, this is fantastic. They're great at what they do. They're the leading end-of-life sort of providers. So I'm very happy to support them, and particularly in this new Fix the End of Life campaign. Because, you want the end of life to be it's hard enough.
Yes.
So you want it to be easy. You want to be surrounded by family if you can. I think most people would prefer to die at home. And at the moment, in the last year of life, about 80% of finance goes into hospital care, and of that, about half goes into emergency A&E care, and only 4% goes into palliative care. And we'd like the government, who are looking at this situation, they're coming up with a new 10-year strategy for the NHS. So this seems like the perfect time to talk about, could you look at long-term strategy for palliative care so everybody's got access to it in the way that's best for them, really. And, you know, Marie Curie are very strong on this.
They're a remarkable charity. I know how closely one of my good friends, Chris Kamara, Cami, works with them, and the difference that they made to his mother-in-law's life at the end of her care. And the Daffodil campaign is such a massive campaign for them, isn't it?
It is. I mean, this is March. This is the daffodil. This is the season of daffodils in the garden. It's the Daffodil campaign, and I think this is the 39th year of the Marie Curie. Yeah. So we you know, we'd ask everyone to try and support Marie Curie at this moment. I think last year we raised 1.3 million. So if people can go to the Marie Curie website, there's all sorts of different ways that you can support. You know, and their work. Getting nurses into homes and their research and this current Fix the End of Life Care campaign, it all goes to support that. So go to the website and have a look, see how you can help out. That'd be great.
I think one of the really important things, as you say, the government's doing this review, and that we know that they've said that they're going to be investing money into this as well to help support the work of hospices and end-of-life care.
They're putting 100 million in, which is fantastic, but that's sort of going into bricks and mortar facilities, you know, and if you're not near a hospital or a hospice, then, you know, it can be a bit patchy, that. I mean, I'm not knocking it in any way. And, you know, Marie Curie worked very closely with the NHS. And if we can take some of the burden off hospitals and ambulance services and the 999 service by getting more nurses into homes, more care into homes, sort of in the community, away from the hospitals, then it frees up the hospitals for the work that they do so well. And that would be the brilliant thing to do, I think. So it's a long-term strategy, but, you know, the last government review about 7 or 8 years ago didn't really touch on palliative care. We're all getting older.
Yes.
You know, there's so many
Everybody will need some help at some stage.
Because one thing's sure, you know, we have one life, you know, and we're all it's going to end at some time. So it'll benefit everybody.
So opening up the conversation too.
I think that's so important to be able to talk about death in a kind of a reasoned way, not to be frightened of it, because we know it's going to happen. So, you know, simple things like, have you made a will? What music do you want at your funeral? Those sort of things, because it's traumatic enough dying without leaving family going, oh, you know, what bank was Mum with? Or what music would she want at her funeral? She wouldn't want the Stones. You don't
know. She could be a bit of a goer.
Well, she could be, you know, Jumping Jack Flash, you never know. So all those conversations, make them as normal as possible. It doesn't have to be traumatic. It just can be a sort of a general thing, you know. And start at any age. Don't wait till it's late. You know?
For sure. We don't have that long with you this morning, Jim, but we've got to ask you about Downton as well before you go. New movie, what can you tell us?
I can tell you, I think I'm allowed to tell you that it's opening on September the 12th.
Great.
That's very good. The third film. That's exciting.
Have you seen it yet?
No, I haven't. No. I think we're going to see it soon.
OK.
But so no, it's going to be a mystery to me. I know I filmed certain parts of it in the Great Yorkshire Showground in Harrogate, which is 300 yards from where I was born.
Oh, wow.
And I learned to ride my bicycle on the Great Yorkshire Showground.
And it's a role, you've always said that customs the role that you were born to play.
Sort of, yeah.
I mean, isn't that extraordinary that then the heritage of you growing up and then there you were being him?
There I was being him back home, yeah. And the weird thing is the Great Yorkshire Showground, I mean, I tell Imelda, my wife, this, and she laughs. In the 50s, there was very little excitement in Harrogate, and there were no traffic lights. So when the Great Yorkshire Show was on for 3 days in July, there was traffic jams. We would make a picnic and sit on the wall and watch the traffic jam. I'm not looking for your pity.
Disney heights of excitement.
Was that where Bessie's Tea Room started? It was basically to come and watch the traffic jam.
Betty's, yes. Let's get a fat rascal from Betty's and watch the traffic jam.
That's absolutely amazing.
And is it nice to see the rest of the cast and stuff?
It's great. In fact, I've got a hot date in about 10 days' time with Mrs. Patmore, Mrs. Hughes, Daisy the maid, and Mr. Barrow, the naughty footman who became my successor as butler. So we meet up for dinners from time to time and dish the dirt sort of thing. So.
I bet it was magical getting back together, although missing Dame Maggie, of course.
Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, what a, you know... we won't see her like again, really. Somebody, I mean, an iconic figure who, you know, who's career started in classical theatre and then expanded to worldwide fame, you know, winning Oscars at the drop of a hat. And how lucky we were to have worked so closely with her for so long in Downton Abbey, you know. I mean...
Those lines as well that she'd deliver.
Gosh, zing, zing.
They were so good.
Get me back another time and I'll tell you about when Maggie Smith met Shirley MacLaine. I mean, that was a meeting of that.
Divas!
Wow.
Yeah.
We need that. We need the inside on that.
Yeah.
For sure.
Jim, out of time, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you. Lovely to see you.
As we say, really, really pleased that you come in and talk a lot about the Marie Curie end-of-life care campaign. I think it's really, really important.
Thank you for your support on that. That's really appreciated.
And we'll pass on your comments to Sam as well. He'll be thrilled to know you had your head in your hands as he tried his best.
Yeah.
Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload new content every day, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out, and we'll see you in the morning. Ruth Ellis's story is something our first guest today knows all too well.
Yeah, as Ruth's granddaughter, Laura Enston, grew up in a family that was haunted for generations by murder and, of course, execution. But Laura joins us now to tell us why she finally feels proud to call Ruth her grandmother. Thank you for coming in this morning.
Thank you.
Both Kat and I have been gripped to the drama, Laura. It's an extraordinary experience because, of course, we had a vague knowledge of who your grandmother was. We know her name, we know what she represents. But to actually see her story and get to know who she was has been really, really enlightening. And actually, that's something that you battled with for many years because the Ruth Ellis that we've seen in this drama wasn't the Ruth Ellis that you grew up with, is it?
100%. It's night and day. So I grew up thinking that Ruth was the caricature that was portrayed in the press, this sort of social climbing, jealous, cold-blooded killer. And she was just such a different character. So obviously the press had portrayed her in a certain way. That was reinforced in the film in 1985, The Dance with a Stranger. So ultimately, I grew up thinking Ruth was this person. And ultimately, I spent probably 40 years distancing myself from it. You know, I think I took on the shame and the embarrassment of what had happened and just didn't want a part of it. So I turned it into a secret, which I now realise how debilitating it is, you know, walking around with a massive secret. And I was petrified about people finding out. And it's just been the most wonderful experience, understanding the real Ruth. And we've, you know, the book that Carol Ann Lee, which obviously the drama is based on, A Fine Day for a Hanging, just incredible. And I only read that a couple of years ago.
Really?
And it was during lockdown. I was living in Canada at the time, started reading this book, and I was just blown away by what I'd read, and I felt completely re-educated.
And this was only a few years ago.
Correct, yeah.
So why had you, as a member of her family, not had the actual story and had been sort of deceived by what the press had written about her for decades?
Because ultimately, there was so much evidence at the time that was sort of concealed. So Carol Ann Lee's book that was published a few years ago, you know, the research that she went into just uncovered so many facts and exposed so many flaws in her defence and how she was treated, and just really gave some context to the type of woman that Ruth was, you know, in post-war Britain, when, you know, women, you know, weren't being encouraged to work. They were very much being ushered back into the home to be good little housewives. Ruth was the antithesis of that. And ultimately, you know, we, as a family, you know, didn't have this information.
Yeah, because you mentioned your family there. So your mum was Georgina.
Correct, yes.
And Georgina was Ruth's daughter who was sent away.
She was sent away. Ultimately, George Ellis, so Ruth's husband, did a deal with Ruth and said, I'll give you a divorce, but you have to give up custody of Georgina.
Right.
That's what happened. So Georgina went up to Manchester.
And that was your mum?
Correct, yes.
And so what was your mum like? And did your mum tell you anything about your grandmother?
She did, but she only told me the story that she knew. And ultimately, she really leaned in on the sordid side of Ruth's life, and she almost used it to sort of justify her behaviour. My mum was, you know, incredibly beautiful. She had very high-profile relationships with
like
George
your
Best.
grandmother as well, by the way.
100%.
I mean, that's a, I mean,
wow, look, those pictures. Look there.
So George Best, Richard Harris. You know, my mum knew everybody. You know, she would walk into a room, the room would turn. You know, she was so charismatic. She had so much going for her.
And she enjoyed that notoriety?
Yeah. 100%. She really leaned in on it. And for me, I was sort of leaned the complete opposite direction. I didn't want to be a part of it, but it was quite difficult as a child growing up because Mum was so prolific. She knew everyone knew her. So as a child growing up, it was quite difficult to distance myself from it. As I got older, and obviously we had a different surname and stuff, it became easier. So when I went into the workplace, you know, people and sort of started making new friends, people didn't know. So I've been having to go around friends that I've known 25 years and to say, hey, surprise, I've got something to tell you.
And so you're trying to distance yourself from what your mum's going through, which is enjoying the notoriety and being on the front pages of the newspapers and dating the likes of George Best in his heyday.
Yeah.
But also you were saying at school you got bullied over what happened.
100%.
Talk us through what would happen at school.
Oh, it started from, as long as I can remember, you know, people would shout in the playground, or your mum, you know, your grandma's a murderer, a prostitute, you know, and as I got older, you know, there was a group of girls at school who would, you know, sort of send me little notes in class, you know, draw the little handman game, just sort of push them under my desk. And I sort of grew up.
Did you have anyone you could share that with, or anyone you could
Not really, no. And I think ultimately in my quest not to be defined by it, I turned it into a secret and didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
And, you know, I realised how damaging that is. I think it's taken up so much of me as a person.
Yeah. And it was only during lockdown when you were listening to Elizabeth Day's podcast.
We had her on the podcast. Such a brilliant podcast.
She's absolutely brilliant.
Incredible.
And How to Fail.
How to Fail.
And you associate...
I started to think, what have I failed at in life? And at the time, I was listening to some other podcasts talking about trying to get a better understanding of childhood trauma.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, this is what's happened to me. You know, at the age of 7 years old, when I find out who my grandmother is, the armour goes up.
Yeah.
And it never actually came down again.
No.
And, you know, so I was having a better understanding about, you know, what I'd failed at in life. Ultimately, you know, in my quest not to be defined by the legacy, I had been defined by it because I'd kept it a secret. And I think it has certainly affected me professionally and personally, there's no doubt about it. And I was listening to, you know, childhood trauma, understanding that piece, thinking, actually, what I've been through is a childhood trauma. And I now realise that, you know, and I was always quite dismissive of it as a kid. You think, oh, other people have been through worse, who cares? But now I realise that all childhood trauma is valid and worthy of conversation and therapy if needed.
It's been an amazing shift. It's lovely to hear the enthusiasm and passion you're talking about your grandmother now and her legacy, which is yours, of course, and the pride that you have to be her granddaughter. So much so that you're launching a petition to try and sort of get some sort of retrospective pardon or something?
Correct, yes. So this has all happened in the last 24 hours.
Okay.
So we have instructed Mishcon Dorea.
Who's in the drama series. He plays the lawyer.
So Victor Mishcon, his firm approached us, and ultimately they are really passionate about continuing and fixing this. And seeking a pardon for Ruth. And ultimately, you know, we're looking for public support. So we've set up a crowdfunding page. If you Google Crowd Justice Ruth Ellis, that page will come up. But you know, we feel like there's with all this new evidence, there's certainly something to explore here.
It's an extraordinary thing watching in the drama, watching what a proud, strong-willed, ambitious and driven woman she was, and she was absolutely didn't want anybody's sympathy at any point. It's fascinating to see, even though constantly people are saying, look, if you change the way you're going about your defence, we wouldn't necessarily have to face the death penalty, but she refused to do it. She was so principled. She's an extraordinary woman.
Incredible. She was, you know, a modern-day woman, if you think about what she'd achieved. In the face of adversity, she'd been abused, you know, by every significant man in her life. And despite that, you know, in 1955, she was a single mother. She was running a thriving business. She had an apartment above the club, you know, looking after her 2 kids. She had loads of money. She had loads of savings, and everything sort of started to unravel when David Blakely, you know, walked into her life.
Well, look, good luck with the petition.
Thank you so
we'll
much.
put the details out there so our viewers can have a look and see what it is. But thank you for coming in. You can see the pride in you now as well, Laura. It's really lovely to see. You can stream that dramatisation if you haven't seen it yet, a Ruth Ellis story.
Absolutely brilliant.
It is really gripping on ITVX. And if you'd like to learn more about the documentary, The Real Ruth Ellis Story, that's also on ITVX.
Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload new content every day, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out. And we'll see you in the morning.
Well, in a daytime TV exclusive, Giselle's daughter, Caroline, has decided to share her side of the harrowing story and the impact of her father's crimes. Just a warning that we're going to be discussing themes of sexual violence which some viewers may find upsetting. Caroline, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me this morning.
It is impossible for us to fathom what it is that you have been through and your family have been through because of your father's actions. But with the book, you're sort of addressing that, trying to help us understand. Why was it important that you wrote the book?
Because, I just wanted to share our own story, which is not an isolated case. Chemical submission, I discovered back in 2020 that it's more widely used, probably in France, but also in Europe, we have several, probably southern cases. And so it's important to drive awareness about, because chemical submission, it's a real health public issue, I'm convinced, and now we know.
So let's go back to 2020 when suddenly you found out what it was that your father had done. I imagine that day plays over in your memory, trying to make sense of hearing the accusation at the time and the reality that we now know. What was that moment like for you, Caroline?
I was devastated. Back 2020, it was a Monday, November the 2nd, when my mum called me. She had to tell me that my father drugged her over the past 10 years for raping her by, strangers. And I realized that I didn't know my beloved father.
And this kind of came about almost, it was a complete surprise because your father had been arrested in a supermarket.
He was arrested for obscuring,
taking photographs against three women. He photographed 3 women, and they took charges to him. So they probably, without knowing, saved my mum. Yes, definitely.
Because thanks to this first complaint, the police officer had to investigate, his own mobile and different kind of computers and so on. And so they discovered more than 20,000 videos and photographs of sexual abuse. Seeing my mum with different kind of men. So it was a shock. And, they were totally astounded by this affair in France. Because it was the very first time that it happened.
Yes. Did you ever suspect anything at any stage? Did your mum's behaviour change? Did you ever think that she was being drugged?
We, as the children, my 2 brothers and me, we were really afraid because we knew that there is something wrong with my mum.
Yes.
Sometimes we had her on the phone and she was like a big... she didn't get... she had like incoherent behavior over the phone. She talked in a different way. She was like... She didn't seem in her right mind. But we were far from this reality. Yeah.
I think your fear was dementia, wasn't it? Or something...
We were afraid that she had a brain... We thought about a brain cancer. We thought about, Alzheimer. We thought that maybe she was starting like having a demential disease. But how could we think about that?
There's a description in the book where you're at dinner and you said it was almost as though the battery was taken out of her, that the plug was pulled out almost.
She was here without being here.
Yes.
Like she was not, she was falling.
Yeah.
She was totally, she was here and my brothers, saw her falling at the table. It was really weird,
Caroline, was there ever anything for you, your brothers, your family, that would mean you were suspicious of your father's behaviour at any point until that moment where these 3 women had accused him of upskirting and had been arrested? Had any of you had any sense that your father had this peculiarity that meant he would behave like this?
Believe me, I was so close from my father. I was the only daughter of this family. I trust him 100%. I never saw him staring at a woman. never ever. He had some, you know, respectful comment about women. So when we discovered that as a children, all our worlds collapsed. All our foundation fell down.
And then when you had to what you write about in the book is the first time you took a look at a photograph and you could only bear to look at one. You couldn't look at any more after that. How did you feel when you saw that? Did your brain try and make sense of the situation? Do you remember?
You know, it was like kind of a dissociated?
Yes.
Sorry, yeah. I was in a state of a shock.
Yeah.
And you have to realize the reality of what you are saying, but it's too much. It's too violent. It's crazy. So, but the worst thing, to be honest with you, is to discover that you are betrayed by one of the most important men in your own life. For my mom, it was her husband. Now they got divorced. But me, it was my father. I got his DNA.
Yeah, you put it so well in the book when you say, I was the daughter of the victim and the tormentor. To me, I find that very difficult to even think about.
You have to split in two.
Yeah. I don't know how you
I don't know how to cope with that still. It's still, you know, it's not because the trial is over that all of this process is over for us as children. It's really difficult to bear that on our shoulder because it's our own legacy.
One of the things that was remarkable was your mother waiving her right to anonymity and being so brave and showing so much courage to stand there every day in that trial, to see those images, to see those videos, to see the men that perpetrated those crimes against her. How did you feel watching your mum stand there and sort of so bravely take on board what had happened to her?
To me, and I think, for us as children, she's a hero. Because, you know, she is 72 years old. She came every single day during 4 months, facing her abuser, her sexual abuser, facing Dominique. She has a tremendous courage. We are really proud of her.
I bet. But I understand that she also struggled to make sense of the man that she loved, her husband, the father of her most important possessions, her children. She struggled to make sense of what he'd put her through and what he put you all through as well.
It's difficult for her, I think, to see him as he is. He is a pervert. He is a deviant. So when you live with someone as she did, for almost 50 years of togetherness, you know. For her, it's still difficult to imagine that it is possible. So we are in a different position with my mom.
So your relationship with your mum has distanced slightly?
Yes. We have to rebuild each other, you know, in a different way.
Sure. Yeah.
And we can't help each other.
Yeah. I think also it must have really changed your perceptions of your childhood as well. Because now having this knowledge that you have, which is horrifying, it must then reframe every single memory you have, as right from being a little girl to your age now.
Yeah, because, you know, when I look back, I don't see all the things. To me, it wasn't true. It wasn't true because, you know, we know now that Dominique didn't start back in 2011. Now we know is, you know, our own journey started, you know, back in the 19s. And I was 20, you know? So when I look back at all of these memories, to me, it's not true. He's a liar. He's a manipulator. And as a children, as a daughter, I can't see, you know, my life before as I thought it was.
Of course, of course.
And it's not just you as a daughter either. You've got a son too. How do you approach that, you know, talking to him about it? How do you approach it with a level of honesty, but not frightening him too much?
With simple words.
Yeah.
He was his grandfather. He really loved him, but we have the responsibility to tell him the truth.
Yes.
So we try to find the best words for a 6-year-old child at this stage, at the moment of our life.
Don't know how you...
And then, you know, with the trial, now he's 10 and he understood. He knows that he's never see him again. And to be honest with you, he told us quite recently that it doesn't exist anymore for him.
Really? So he's adjusted already? Yeah. The most recent update is that you now personally are pressing charges against your father for chemical submission and also for raping you too. So you have discovered evidence that you believe points to the fact that he did this to you as well.
I know. I knew right from the beginning.
Really?
But you know, in France, this is the public prosecutor's officers who lead the complaints. And right from the start, they decided to focus on my mother because all the evidence were on the table. But I know that he drugged me and he probably did a lot more. So I decided during this trial, because I understood I was an invisible victim and I'm the daughter. So I need to get the truth. I don't know what it's, you know, what it's going to be the next steps.
Sure.
But at least I'm aligned with myself because I know that it's happened something wrong before and after those 2 pictures. Well, I'm not sleeping, I'm sedated.
In the same position?
In the same position
as your mother?
As my mother. You know, there are
It's
so many...
something he's always denied, and the spokesperson, we just need to do this for the National Police in France, said as an investigation is currently underway, they were unable to respond to the scenario right now for you.
He lied. He lied each time. He did several versions. We can't, you know, during this trial, it's a shame because, you know, we didn't get any clear answer from him.
The frustration of that will be intolerable. But I wonder, though, Caroline, how you see the future, how you and your brothers and your son and your family and your mother will get beyond this. Do you have hope that you will be able to get beyond it?
I don't want to talk for my mum or even for my 2 brothers, but for me, I think that hopefully and frankly, I hope this new complaint is going to be taken seriously. And otherwise, you know, my life goes on. I'm a mum, I'm working, I'm committed to that cause, chemical submission. I'm not pretending that I'm going to save everyone, but I'm just trying to drive awareness and to make people understand that it does exist.
Yes.
And that you, as a victim, if you have a doubt, investigate the doubt.
Thank you for coming on to the show. And thank you for being so brave. And I think your mom is just, as you said, to use your words, a hero.
She's a hero.
Yeah.
Oh, hello. Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload tons of new content every single day. So hit the subscribe button, like all the videos, and don't miss out. We'll see you in the morning.
Now, it's a condition that affects more than 1 million people in this country, yet obsessive-compulsive disorder is still widely misunderstood, and it's a condition that our next guest has been learning to live with since childhood.
Yeah, starring in hit TV shows, including, of course, Downton Abbey, Tuppence Middleton appeared to be the epitome of confidence. But behind the scenes, her life was controlled by terrifying, intrusive thoughts and repetitive, compulsive rituals.
Now Tuppence has opened up about the extent of her condition for the first time in her new memoir, Scorpions.
And as she's preparing to take to the West End stage again tonight, Tuppence has taken a break from her busy schedule to tell us more about the book. Firstly, you started last night in The Years, which I saw on Saturday. I'm still reeling from. How did it go?
OK, I think I had a great time. I think you spend so much energy being hyper-focused before your first performance, so you sort of don't really think about anything else, just getting through to the end of the play. But it's such a supportive company, and it's such a beautiful thing to be a part of. So I just felt very supported.
It's an extraordinary experience watching it. We'll come and talk about that a little bit later on, because, of course, we also want to talk about your book.
Yeah, Scorpions. Yeah, it's so brave and open and honest. And what I like most about it is, even if you don't suffer from OCD yourself at all, your writing makes you go to that place. You can absolutely empathise with exactly what you're going through. Was that a conscious decision?
Yeah, I think I'd read books on OCD which had felt quite statistical and sort of removed, and I really wanted for people to feel like they were inside the head of someone with OCD, for it to feel immersive, so you could understand the thought processes. And I think we have a very sort of generalised, often trivialised version of what OCD is.
Yeah.
And whether that's people thinking, oh, I like order and cleanliness. I wanted people to understand the sort of the bit before that, the bit before the compulsions. What happens in your head? Why do I have to count to 8? Why do I have to touch these things a certain amount of times? Why do I have this sort of reassurance-seeking behaviours? And for someone who doesn't have OCD, I wanted to give them more of an understanding. But if you do suffer with it, I also sort of wanted to provide a little bit of hope.
It was so clever, actually.
Yeah.
The Scorpions,
As an idea.
the idea of that, it allows the reader to get hold of exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, I think often people like to sort of name their OCD, they either as a sort of singular entity or something else. But for me, it always felt like this sort of crawling, sinister presence, and the thoughts and the way that they change and the speed that they move. The idea of scorpions crawling around in my head was something that always struck a chord.
How did it start, Tuppence?
Well, I think it started really after I had a prolonged illness as a child. I had chronic fatigue syndrome, or ME, as it's also known. And I was constantly nauseous. I lost a lot of weight. I was very tired. I couldn't get out of bed. And that lasted for a few months. And when I finally recovered, I started to get symptoms of OCD and perform these sort of checking behaviours and a lot of counting rituals. So I would look at things in my room which were square and count the corners to a count of 8. And then it would be checking certain things in the kitchen, checking door handles, worrying about getting sick, which was a huge drive, I think, as a carry through from my illness, that I'd had this prolonged nausea and never had any resolution. So I think that turned into emetophobia, which I talk a lot about in the book, which is a fear of vomiting, and that drives a lot of those cleanliness compulsions.
And did it kind of spiral out of control pretty quickly? Because what you're talking about was when you were about 10 or 11.
Yeah.
You stopped going to school. Your mum must have been so upset and terrified, not knowing exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Did it spiral out of control fairly quickly, or did you get some help? And how long did it take you to get the diagnosis?
It was quite gradual. I mean, it was something that we initially went to our GP about when I was 11 or 12, when it first started to show up. And then I sort of managed it through school. And the thing about OCD, which I think is quite difficult and which I wanted to shed light on, is that it's such a private thing, because so much of it is internal thinking, then you can hide it from people. And a lot of my checking behaviours revolved around my home. So once I had kind of left a place of responsibility, I suppose, then it was much easier to cover it up. So it was at its worst in my early and mid-20s, when I was sort of studying, but then just after that, when I'd started working the first few years after drama school. And then I sought various different types of help. I tried CBT therapy, cognitive behavioural therapy. I was on medication for 2.5 years, which was an antidepressant often prescribed for OCD. And then eventually I had a course of talking therapy as I was coming off medication, which was the thing that helped me the most. But it's so individual, I think.
So individual. You're a mum now as well, and you work in a world which is very high profile professionally.
Yeah.
And you have to mix with all sorts of people with demands on your time, like performing live on stage.
Yeah.
I mean, how does it manifest itself now, Tuppence? How do you navigate being a mum? Because little kids can be ill.
Yeah. Yes, yeah. So that was a really difficult thing, and I think people with OCD often don't even get pregnant because they're worried about morning sickness, or they're worried about what happens when they have children and those children pick up bugs as they inevitably do. I think a lot of preparation is involved. There's two sides to it, I suppose. You have this distraction which requires a lot of your focus. So in that respect, sometimes it can distract me from routines and rituals that I set up, which is a great thing. And then on the other hand, there is this huge anxiety about, you know, going to a soft play or going to nursery and picking up bugs. And so then I have these sort of kits which I built in case she gets ill. And I have a very understanding partner, and it's a lot about preparing yourself for those situations.
Being organised.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just so tricky, I think, to manage it within society too, and people's perceptions of it, because we've seen interviews that you've done where people sometimes just trivialise it, actually.
Yeah.
You received a mug as a present.
Yeah, which said obsessive compulsive on it. Yeah. And you know, something that I talk about in the book too, I find it hard to imagine someone having a mug with PTSD written on it. You know, it's a mental health condition, and it's just because there are elements of it which may seem kind of ludicrous to people, then it's still very serious to the person who has it. And I think in terms of work, I now feel much more able to speak to co-stars or speak to, you know, if I have an intimate scene with someone and tell them this is my particular anxiety, and please let me know if you have any kind of contagious illness that could potentially throw up some problems.
Goodness me. It's fascinating. As Kat was saying, it's brilliant that you're talking about it so openly as well. Like, we know you professionally so open, but personally, this is the difference. We're joined as well now by psychiatrist and OCD specialist, Professor David Veal. Good morning to you, Professor David. Thank you for joining us. Can you just break down, in simple terms, for the layman, exactly what OCD is?
Well, obsessive-compulsive disorder consists of both obsessions and compulsions. And an example of an obsession might be a fear of contamination, perhaps from germs or something, and leading to compulsive washing. Or someone else might have a doubt that they've just run over a cyclist, leading to constant checking. Someone else might have intrusive thoughts about stabbing their baby or something and having to neutralise it. So it's many different types within OCD, but the key thing is that it's very distressing, very time-consuming and interfering in one's life.
I mean, Tuppence talked about some of the treatments that she's had. Is it something that can be cured with the right treatment?
Most people can make definitely progress in terms of using both cognitive behaviour therapy, but it needs to be specific. It includes principles of facing up to your fears and being able to learn how to tolerate uncertainty. So it is tough. It requires a lot of courage. And as Tuppence says, and people with more severe problems might be helped also by medication.
And if somebody was watching the show right now and was picking up on maybe some of the symptoms that you're describing, or thinking that they have those kind of thoughts, what would be your advice to them?
Well, I'd definitely seek professional help, and you can do that in the UK through talking therapies on the NHS, certainly, or you can get a referral by your GP. But, you know, I think the message is this is something that's definitely treatable, and you can definitely make progress, even if you don't completely recover from it.
Well, thank you, Professor David. I'd imagine that you'd echo that as well, Tuppence, that you are making progress.
Yes, yeah. I think, you know, I feel now at a position in my life where it's much more manageable, and I've learned certain ways to cope with it when I'm in more stressful periods of my life. So that's part of the reason I felt like it was good timing to write the book. I could have some perspective.
Oh, there wasn't a dry eye in any house after the embrace between Ollie and his granddad Lee, and they both join us now this morning. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. First things first, Ollie, how does it feel having finally got to show the episode where you got the golden buzzer?
I'm just so relieved after this. It's just amazing.
Because you did it a while ago, so you've been having to keep it a secret, haven't you?
Oh, yeah.
How's that been?
So hard. It's been really, really hard.
We were watching sat at home. You were watching in your house, and I was watching with my two boys. And my boy Milo is 9, and he plays the drums. And he said, Whatever you do, when you meet Ollie tomorrow, you've got to tell him that I love his work and that I play the drums too. And I think maybe one day there could be a band in the making. It must have been so nerve-wracking, though. I mean, you're amazingly talented, but to go out in front of all of those people, what was going through your mind?
It was just, I can't even explain it. I was so nervous when I went on. But then as soon as I hit that first chord, it was just all my worries went.
You just piled into the guitar and you feel...
yeah.
Listen, and what about you, Lee? Because I think sometimes it's harder for the person who loves the person watching them do it than it is for the actual person themselves.
It was quite emotional, really, and I was very nervous, but I knew the minute he hit that chord, it would explode. And that was it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was it, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. So did you, first of all, get Ollie into playing the guitar?
Yeah, well, I used to play when I was about 15, 16, 17, and then we stopped playing for a while. And then Ollie said to me one day, he saw a guy playing in the street.
Right.
He said, I want to do that. I said, OK, Gran, I'll do that. I'll get a guitar and we'll do it.
So you almost relearned at the same time.
Yeah, it was quite funny. I picked it up quite quickly again, and we did 60s stuff, didn't we?
Oh, yeah.
A lot of 60s stuff, you know, because I'm locked in the 60s, unfortunately, then, you know, shadow stuff and that. So we did all that because that was quite straightforward.
Yeah.
And I didn't so much teach him as I just opened the door, and out it came.
And how long was it then, Lee, before Ollie started overtaking your skill and ability?
Oh, about 10 minutes. Well, we got him out playing live in about 2 years.
Wow.
So he got confidence, he could play live with the 60s stuff in about 2 years. And he was starting to pass me by then. And, yeah, he passed me at about 2.5 years. And he's like light years.
Flying. So, Ollie, when was it you went, right, this 60 stuff's all right, Grandad, but I want to do some rock?
Well, I heard this guy on my street, as Grandad said, and when Grandad picked up the guitar, I thought I started with the 60s stuff, and then I thought, what if I try that? I said to my mum, can I try rock? And she said, yeah. Absolutely.
I love the fact you asked permission. What a polite young man. Mum, is it all right if I try some rock? So where was your entry-level rock? Do you remember what those first few rock tunes you learnt?
It was like Highway to Hell and Smoke on the Water.
Of course, classic.
Classics.
Classic. I love how you say he's very polite, but he's also taken over his mum's dining room. He's completely... You have, haven't you?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
What do you mean you've taken over your mum's dining room?
There's tons of guitars in there, tons.
Has it become a guitar emporium? Is that? I thought that was a guitar shop. That's your front room.
That's it.
Yeah.
What?
That's it.
How many guitars have you got?
Just over 20, I think.
What? Why?
It's just, I don't know, every different one has an individual sound.
Of course. So you have a different guitar depending on what it is that you're playing?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
So tell us, Ollie, now you go straight through to the semi-finals. What are you going to play there, do you think? Have you got any ideas
yet? I can't say exactly, and we have got ideas, but it's going to be bigger, better and louder.
Amazing. Because that moment, though, Lee, when Amanda presses the golden buzzer was so... The look on your face as well.
Oh, yeah.
What was that like being stood at the side of the stage?
I think I just froze. I didn't really know. You know, you get that moment where you don't know what's happening. It's unreal. Well, it was unreal.
Yeah.
And you collected a few of the little bits of gold as well. You've got those.
Oh, yeah. We got
them
those,
at home,
yeah.
haven't you?
Yeah.
What have your mates made of it? Oh, I mean, have you even seen half your mates since Saturday night?
I haven't seen anyone.
You haven't seen anyone?
I haven't seen a single one.
And they might be at school today. I think you were saying your teacher might have this morning on.
They might have this morning on.
If you say down camera on, is there anything you'd like to say to your classmates?
I hope you enjoyed yesterday.
Oh,
there you go.
I think if they're anything like my boys, they definitely enjoyed your performance and your granddad too. Do you think you could give us a little bit of... treat us to a little bit of a special performance?
Oh, sure, definitely.
Do you think you can? OK, come on then, go get yourself ready. Here we go. He's just putting it on. Is he good at practising, Grandad?
Extremely good.
Is he?
He's very good. He's very dedicated.
Is he?
Very dedicated, yeah. He's,
You can tell. You can tell.
Yeah.
OK, come on then, we're ready for it.
Are you ready, Ollie? Oh, yeah. Let's go for
give it some, lad.
Come
on, buddy. I always call him buddy.
mean, that was absolute. I feel like we needed smoke machines and we needed like all different stuff going on.
How many years till you take your guitar after you finished a massive riff and you start smashing it? That's the thing, isn't it? That's the thing when you know you've really got into it. Thank you so much for coming and playing and meeting us, Ollie. We're thrilled that you've got through. Can't wait to see what that live semi-final is going to be. I doubt it's going to be epic, though. And well done, Lee, to you and all the family as well, because I imagine that was an emotional roller coaster for everybody.
Just the beginning of the adventure, I think.
Yeah, just the beginning, isn't it?
It is. And also, there's quite a good football team in Wrexham as well. Have you done anything? There's a couple of Hollywood superstars that are involved.
Oh, yeah.
Have you played at Wrexham yet?
No.
A little bit of a half-time show at
Should
Wrexham?
we put a call in, maybe?
I have actually done one on the Wrexham Legends match.
On the Wrexham Legends match?
Where they have played against firefighters.
Right.
And I played at half-time.
Amazing. I think you could probably do one now for this season as well, no?
I suspect so now.
They'll be in touch.
Just
we'll
the
get in
beginning.
touch with Ryan and Rob.
Definitely. We've got them on speed dial. Britain's Got Talent is taking a break this weekend for the Six Nations, so it will continue at 7 p.m. on Saturday, the 22nd of March on ITV1 and
Thank
ITV8.
you for
visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload new content every day, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out, and we'll see you in the morning.
So new government data has revealed that £9 million was lost to rental scams across the country last year.
One person that knows all too well how advanced these scams can be is 27-year-old Anna Gonzalez, who handed over £8,000 to rental fraudsters.
Anna is here alongside Alice Beer with everything we need to know to try and stay safe in this increasingly desperate rental market. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Anna, thank you so much for joining us to share your story as well. Just talk us through exactly what happened. Where were you when you started, you found yourself in the middle of this scam? What had happened?
So I was sort of desperately looking for a property because our current property, the landlords had said that they needed to sell the flat. So that was sort of the circumstance for looking, and it was over the Christmas period.
And you only had 2 months' notice, right?
Exactly, 1 to 2 months' notice. Everything is sort of shut over Christmas anyway, so we turned to Open Rent, which is a platform I've used all throughout university as a student, and I felt that it could give us a bit of an edge to talk directly to the landlord. I found a couple of properties that had actually already been leased, and then this landlord reached out to me saying that he had another property coming up, and that's the one that we went to look at.
And it was all looking very promising, wasn't it? Because, of course, you know that time is ticking. There aren't enough rental properties on the market for the number of people that need them. You knew Christmas was coming, and it was all looking quite positive.
Yeah, I mean, coming out of the COVID period as well, people were signing for properties with far less information. You know, there was a kind of influx of taking videos and signing based on FaceTime, and we went to see this property. We met a man suited and booted at the property. There were about 4 or 5 other couples waiting to see it. It was in
Did you actually see them waiting to see it as well? So they were queuing up to see it?
Yeah. And so that kind of added, I think, to the competition and the pressure.
It adds panic.
Absolutely. So we got shown around the property. It was perfect. It was slightly out of the way, but it was in a great location. And we just thought, you've got to snap it up while you're there.
And as you say, Anna, you'd used Open Rent before previously as a student.
Yep.
Did anything at any point shout, this seems too good to be true, this feels like a fraud?
No, unfortunately. And, you know, I even went as far as comparing the contract that we were sent side by side. I mean, there was a fake website. There were obviously multiple people involved, somebody arranging the viewing. And I think what struck me is that I think you usually think that these are quite faceless, impersonal things, but I'd built so much rapport with this person. I'd had multiple phone calls. I'd met people, his associates, on the phone and that kind of thing. So that just, you know, I didn't... Yeah, absolutely.
And so what you decided to do, obviously because there were 5 other people in line and you knew you were desperate and you were working under a time crunch, you decided to try and give yourself the edge by saying to the estate agent, look, can we give you some rent up front? If we can jump to the front of the queue, would that work? Would that work?
Yeah.
And so you ended up parting ways with 8,100?
Yeah, exactly. It was actually my colleagues who mentioned, you know, I paid up rent up front to give me the edge. It was the only way that I could secure a flat.
I get it.
It wasn't something that I'd tried before, but at the moment, you know, the rent, people are people are offering more monthly rent, which over a long period of time is such an extortionate amount more.
Yeah.
So I thought, I spoke to the landlord and I said, would this help you? Would this kind of sweeten the deal?
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, that would be fine. I'll take it off the market.
So you send over £8,100,
Yeah.
still completely believing that the flat's yours, probably quite excited. You've secured the flat.
Really totally.
Flat you like,
Yeah.
in time for Christmas.
Yeah.
When did you start thinking that things weren't quite as they seemed?
Not until the move-in date. So everything happened quite fast, which to me didn't kick up any worry because I was dealing directly with the landlord, and as far as I knew, it was a vacant property.
Yeah.
The day that we moved in, you know, I'd already started to transfer my bills over, set up, try and get ahead of the game. It was early January, the move-in date, and it got to sort of 5 o'clock on the Friday, and I hadn't heard back, but we'd been speaking in the morning. It got to sort of 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and I thought, this doesn't really feel right. And I worried because the landlord had told me that he lived outside of London, and I thought, oh my goodness, what if something's happened to him?
Yeah.
So I went over to the property. I got in an Uber. I rang the bell to let someone let me in. And I knocked on the door, and somebody answered the door, and it was an Australian guy who had the property for 4 days until the Monday.
And what did he say?
He said, this is my Airbnb. This is my Airbnb. I'm staying here. I don't really know what you're talking about. I'm really sorry that this has happened.
Gosh, the panic at that point must have been terrifying.
It was, you spiral at that moment because you can't even connect any dots. And it's also, housing is kind of your safety, and it's sort of a basic need, isn't it? So it was, and also the logistics of having a moving van the next day, and yeah, it all just happened very fast.
You'd borrowed the money from your family too,
exactly.
and then all of a sudden you've suddenly got a giant gaping hole where you'd need to find somewhere else as well.
Yeah, and I think the money doesn't even come into it at that point. You know, it's such an emotional shock.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it took me a few days to even address that part.
So what did you do next? Was there any way of trying to retrieve the cash? Because you'd also got a video of the man who was posing as an estate agent.
Yeah, I called the police immediately, actually, before I'd even left the property. They sort of deferred me to action fraud, but obviously it was 7 p.m. on a Friday, and action fraud closes over the weekend. So
no fraud on the weekends.
No, exactly. So I then went back into my local branch near my family home and sort of refused to leave until someone expedited the case. And then HSBC thankfully had the team, and they sent me a link, and I was able to upload about 40 documents worth of evidence, screenshots and things, for them to review. And I was very lucky that they had a contingency that that allowed us to get the money back.
So you got your money back.
Goodness.
But was anything taken forward by action fraud? Has anybody been held responsible for what they did to you?
No, currently no.
So they could still be doing exactly this to other people?
I don't doubt it, yeah.
Gosh, Anna, I'm so sorry. Thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah,
I can't. It's one of those things, Alice, isn't it, that your jaw drops because it sounds like Anna did everything she possibly could to be sure that this was a legit
Absolutely,
property.
absolutely. And we sort of almost waved it away as put it in the category of scam. This is a massive, sophisticated, brazen fraud. This is a crime. And the fact that there's been nothing followed up afterwards is really awful. You say that there was £9 million lost to rental scams last year, rental fraud last year. I think that's a huge sort of underestimate. I bet it was much, much more than that. There's so much unreported crime. There were 5,000 cases, we know, at least. And sadly, Anna's age bracket is a bracket that take up probably half of the number of rental fraud cases. Not because they're young and naive. In fact, they're the opposite. Much more sophisticated and savvy than than I am, certainly in my age group. And I wouldn't probably have thought, many people wouldn't have thought to do the checks that Anna did. But because there's this desperate gap in the housing market, there is one property for every 12 tenants looking. Wow. There's anxiety, there's desperation, and where there's anxiety, where there's desperation, that's where the fraudsters go, because that's where they know the money will be handed over sort of in anticipation quickly, and probably loops will be missed. We must look also at the part that social media has to play in this. Half of the rentals frauds out there emanate from Facebook marketplace.
Right,
So you have to look at where people are finding these properties. Where Anna started was a great place, open rent, a good, secure place to start. Where there was a slip was that Anna came off the platform to start conversations with this so-called
Directly.
landlord directly. Never come off a platform that you are on. Stay there because it protects you. And Open Rent would have protected her through those next stages. And although she got her money back, it was actually because she was forceful and thorough after the event. She may well, other people in that situation may well not have got their money back and may have been sitting here telling the story £8,100 down.
Off, yeah.
So these are sophisticated, brazen crimes. They're often, the pictures of the property will often be the pictures of any random property, not necessarily even in the same country as you. So if we look at the ways that you could stop this happening to you, and Anna would have ticked many of these boxes, but many of them, you know, not, I'm afraid. Reverse image search is the first thing to do. So you look at the property, this is how you do it on Google. You go into images and you click on reverse search. You look at the property that has come up and you find out where else it is. And you might find that it's in Australia and it's in where else. We've just picked a random one from Getty Images. You may also find, Anna would have found probably that it was on Airbnb. And then you would question, hang on, why is this on Airbnb? Or why is this here and there, and yet it's cheaper where I'm looking? Because the discrepancy in prices often indicates that they're offering you something to entice you.
I mean, to be fair to you, though, Anna, you went to the property and saw it. There
absolutely.
was no...
And
there were
other people there and he looked presentable. She eyeballed the guy. He was suited and booted. I mean, it's
charming
just...
and lovely,
It's unbelievable. Something I did yesterday as a little test, it took me 3 minutes, as I looked up on Land Registry, cost £7. Within 3 minutes, I had the name and address of somebody. I did my own property, the name and address of a property owner. You could verify that in different ways. If you sign up to Rent Profile, they will tell you the landlord details, the bank account details, the property ownership, the history, if there's any prosecutions attached to the property, or reports from renters. Look at paying with a credit or debit card, if you possibly can. Stay on the platform. Ask for utility bills. Any landlord would have to have safety certificates in their name. If you'd asked to see them and check them against the bank account, then that would have exposed him. Also, verifying with the bank, is this account verified? Is this person legitimate? And that was also, that helped Anna. That one phone call to the bank helped Anna get her money back. But, you know, you cannot be too careful.
How are things now? Did you eventually find
a lovely
somewhere?
home?
Yes, thankfully, all settled.
All settled, and you feel wiser for it.
Absolutely, all my friends know.
Yeah.
Can I just say that Action Fraud, who Anna contacted, they are the people that you have to let them know when you're scammed. That's the City of London Police. They told us, we understand that people who report to Action Fraud may be disappointed if their case does not result in a criminal conviction, and too often it doesn't. However, there are a number of key outcomes which put victims first, including helping victims reclaim stolen money and providing further practical and emotional support. I think, basically, they are overwhelmed.
Of course.
Facebook also say they're continually investing in protections against fraud on their platforms and work closely with law enforcement. They continue to work closely with Stop Scams UK to help identify scams at the source.
I wonder, Alice, because they said to you there wasn't enough evidence to go forward, didn't they, Action Fraud?
They came back to me following a more thorough investigation, a couple of years later, but didn't actually find anything more than I knew 2 years before. So they more or less said that they didn't think that they would apprehend the suspects just from what they knew.
You had phone numbers, you had 40 bits of evidence, you had email addresses. I don't know what more evidence you can give.
I think they're overwhelmed.
Yes, simple as that. Well, look, thank you for sharing your story. Hopefully it's going to help somebody out there this morning. Alice, thanks for all those tips. Hello. Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload tons of new content every single day. So hit the subscribe button, like all the videos, and don't miss out. We'll see you in the morning.
You don't need to watch anything else today, that's it. That's all you need. It is, of course, 8-year-old Florrie Barkey joins us alongside her parents Stacey and Andy. Hey, you three.
Hello. Welcome back.
That was like watching your greatest hits, wasn't it? It was fantastic, Florrie. It's brilliant.
You absolutely love it, don't you, seeing yourself on your TikToks and things like that, don't you? Do you enjoy actually making those TikToks, Florrie?
Daddy likes being the director.
Daddy, you like being the director?
I like being the director.
He does like being a director.
Is he a tough director? He's like, action.
He likes being in them.
He likes it. He really likes it.
And then we just spend hours afterwards rewatching them, don't we? That's where all the views come from. We just watch them ourselves.
Half of the views are us and our family. That's probably why we have that much on our TikTok now.
So the thing is, you are inspiring the nation, aren't you? Everyone is inspired by you. But obviously, it's Women's Day tomorrow. I want to know, who inspires you?
Family, my mummy and daddy, my nurses and doctors and the people who work at the hospital.
Yeah.
Oh, they're so kind, aren't they?
Yeah.
And Andrew, we have to, well, you just mentioned Mummy. Let's big up Mummy.
Friends.
She inspires. Well, it's no wonder Florence is the way she is with a mum like Florence. I just feel with a mum like Stacey. I feel sorry for our son, to be honest, because he's got to, when he's older, his wife or future wife or partner, because they've set a very high bar.
Yeah.
It's so lovely. And we've heard your charity is going to Ibiza. What's going on?
What's happening?
But
Henry's doing a walk.
Henry, man, he's doing a walk. And last year he did it, and he did it from, was it London?
From Manchester.
From Manchester to Ibiza.
Ibiza.
And he wanted a holiday, that's why.
So now he's doing it in Ibiza.
He did it last year. This year he's doing it in flip-flops, isn't he?
Yeah.
And you told him, I want you to do this for my charity, and he was like, I'm doing it.
Because he saw me, and that we set it high because I was cute.
You were cute.
So cute. Florrie, tell us, and Andrew, tell us about the idea to get your videos in all the NHS waiting rooms, because just for a dose of joy, basically, right?
That's the plan. Yeah, we're hoping just to be able to spread more awareness about childhood cancers, but also trying to make it feel a little less scary in general, knowing that actually that hospitals don't need to be too scary. And actually, we find that other children learning about cancer from another child's perspective just seems to make it a lot less scary.
Yeah. That's important to you, Florrie, to make sure that all the other children aren't too scared, right? Yeah, brilliant.
She's always encouraging other children as well and saying, don't be too scared. Isn't that right, Stacey?
Yeah, she hates seeing other children upset, so usually if there was a new child on the ward diagnosed, she'd be the first person that would try and speak to them and just try and reassure them, because she just hates anyone being sad, don't you?
If they cry, I cry.
You're an empath, you are. You
If they cry, I cry. It's over.
Because, Florrie, you're better now, right? So you don't have the cancer. I know you're waiting for a new lung, aren't you?
I don't have cancer anymore, but I still have to get checked to it every year.
Yeah. So do you remember, like, when you were first poorly, was it really scary at the time?
Yeah.
So when you meet the other children now, what do you say to them to try and make them not scared?
I say it's okay. They're trying to help you, and I'll, be your friend and everything.
Well, you need, don't you? You need a friend, don't you?
Yeah. Now, I've heard you've got an agent now.
What?
You'll be hitting the runway because you're a big star now. You're a big thing. What's happening with that? Are you doing some modelling or something like that?
Maybe.
Maybe. Maybe a film?
Maybe.
I mean, how are you...
don't know yet.
As parents, how are you going to monitor this? Are you just going to make sure whatever makes her happy?
Yeah, I think obviously her health is our #1 priority, but obviously we want her to be able to make memories that she wants to do, and anything that makes her happy within reason, we'll try and facilitate it.
Yeah.
But yeah, ultimately her health is priority, but...
She's not going to Hollywood.
She can't travel there anyway right now, so no.
One day.
One day.
When you've got your new lungs. Yeah.
Hollywood's calling.
Or Bollywood.
Oh, any of the woods.
Anyone.
Well, listen, Florrie, throughout your journey to recovery, you've been surrounded by lots of inspirational women. You've mentioned some of them, especially those who looked after you at the Sheffield Children's Hospital.
So today, we thought it'd be a nice idea, because you love them so much, we would celebrate them too. So come in, ladies.
Welcome to the show, Claire Johnson, Rachel Leonard and Yvonne Woods. Coming in.
Hello, my darling.
Hello.
Oh my God.
Oh,
Not swear. Hello, my little darling.
oh,
Sweet pie.
Come and sit yourselves
Come and sit
down.
down. Where's Claire?
Shuffle down.
Where's Claire? Hi, Claire.
Hello,
Thanks
Claire.
for coming. Nice to meet you.
She's our play therapist.
Yeah, Claire, tell us about your role. What does play therapist mean?
So I come in and keep Florrie busy when she's with us, lots of fun and activities, but we also support Florrie when she's obviously got to have procedures done, go through them in a child-friendly way using the resources that we have and distract her through those things.
It sounds like she's giving advice to other kids as well now. I mean, that's
the thing about Florrie. Although she goes through what she goes, she's always caring for the other children. She'll make them pictures and cards and other things.
That's pure. That's so inspirational. That,
yeah, she always supports everyone else as well, don't you?
What's it like seeing all these ladies here today, Florrie? What's it like?
I love it.
You love it. It's a lovely surprise. And Rachel, you're one of the nurses as well, and you say she's got a special purpose, hasn't she?
Oh, Florrie just spreads joy to
Really?
everyone. Yeah. If you're on a shift, if you're having a bad shift, you can go into Florrie's room. Even if she's in one of her sassy moods, you will still get absolute joy.
And the thing is, with your job, you can get quite close to your patients, can't you?
A lot. The type of nursing we do in haematology oncology is it's not a revolving door. It's not your A&E. They can be with us for weeks, months, years, and yeah, I think that's why we love what we do. We make relationships with not just Florrie, but Freddie, Big Brother Fred's.
Crazy big brother.
Yeah, crazy big brother. And Mum's, Dad, Stacey, Andrew. Like, it's International Women's Day, and I think we want to shout out to Stacey because she's our inspirational woman as well as Florrie.
the strength of parents come through. You must see that all the time. Because, you know, you're just put in that position, the most unimaginable position, and suddenly you just have to find that strength. don't you?
It's like a club that nobody wants to be part of, but when we are...
when you are, I bet you feel like a world beater, don't you?
Yeah.
Like, when you are part of that club,
Yeah.
it becomes you everything, right?
It does, yeah. It just... You sort of submerged into that world and you always feel for the families that are coming into it as well, and hopefully we can help them.
I was going to say, you must see people come through that are just, like, shell-shocked, like being hit by a frying pan, you know, that first initial...
You can spot a new family immediately.
Can you?
Yeah.
Yvonne, you help the families and you give a little bit more support. Tell us what you do.
It's family-centred care, and I think as well as we're caring for the patients and the war, like Florrie and all the other children, it's the parents also that you actually feel for, and you get time to see these parents. You get to know them really, really well because, like Rachel said, they're with us for a lot of weeks, a lot of months, like years and what have you. So yeah, it's that little bit extra, you know, that little bit of time and what have you, and it's just...
Listen, she's had this effect on so many people in so many ways. Like, even down to your choice of socks in the morning.
Florrie.
What have we got today?
Oh, gosh. I've done it.
Look at
Yeah.
You do that every day?
It used to be that I'd walk in the morning and say, Yvonne, what socks have you got on today? And I have to think about it in the morning. Has she seen these socks? And so I have to, my choice of wardrobe in the morning. When
Taking
Florrie's...
9 minutes of your day.
Yeah.
That's so sweet.
Open the drawer in the morning.
Yeah.
What socks am I wearing today?
And I know you got a bit emotional when you found out you was her inspirational woman.
Yeah, sat at the kitchen table and cried a little bit, and it's to make that difference to somebody's life, and she's made such a difference to everybody's life. You just see her on TikTok, on everywhere. She's just fabulous, and as a family, they're just an amazing family to have.
Well, people are
to
getting
know.
in touch. People are getting in touch. You affect everybody, Florrie. Sue says, I would like to nominate that beautiful little girl, Florrie Bark, as my inspirational woman. What a beautiful little soul she is. Lydia says, Florrie's so inspiring.
And Ria said, Florrie, watching you right now has brightened up my day. Your smile and sense of humour are beautiful, just like you. Stay fantastic. Prayers you say strong and healthy always.
Oh, wow.
Thank you, Florrie. Look at this. Look at the joy you've got.
And I'm so glad you got to meet him.
Yeah.
It's been me, Ben, Kat.
Yeah.
You've missed
Joel,
out.
I think,
Now
yeah.
you've got the joy.
Now I know.
You've got the joy. Well, listen, we couldn't let you go home empty-handed. Claire, Rachel and Yvonne, when you're able to take a break, our friends over at Champneys are gifting you a bit of a spa break. We've got some vouchers for you enjoy. We're going to basically get you pampered.
Yeah.
You guys.
We're going to go all together.
Are
you coming?
She's invited us out.
Watch Champneys turn her down.
Of course I'm coming with you.
And for the Bark family, Rural Retreats got in touch with us. They would like to offer you a long weekend away at one of their beautiful locations anywhere around the country.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on.
You.
Thank you for inspiring us. And happy Women's Day tomorrow.
Yeah.
Have a lovely day.
We are also dedicated.
Thank you so much for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload new content every single day, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you in the morning.
Two of the real-life mums who inspired the drama, Tracy and Maggie, join us now, alongside Jodie Whittaker, who plays fellow mum Susan in the show. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, ladies. Thank you. We watched the whole thing, didn't we?
Grip,
we had Robert Carlyle was on the show. And we talked about it, and I was saying to you, I found the first episode especially so difficult to watch, as a mum myself. Can you take us back to the time when, before you knew anything had really affected you, what was it like at that time, and what do you remember about the dust?
Obviously, I worked in Corby on the industrial estate.
Yeah.
I travelled to work every day, 6 days a week. And we had a white car at the time.
Yeah.
And every night when I got home, I had to wash it because it was so bad. And it was a thick red dust. And obviously, when there was a little bit of wind, it was like a sandstorm that was swept up. Obviously, on the days that it was wet, the roads were just like a potter's wheel of red sludge.
Yeah.
But obviously, being in Corby and there was works going on, we just all put it down to it being normal mud. And obviously, when it was wet, and when it was dry and there's a bit of dust, it would, you know, the wind, it would throw the dust up. But it was so bad that on days we couldn't even have the windows open at work.
Really?
And you'd put your coffee cup down, put your sandwiches down, go away from your desk for 2 minutes, come back, pick them up, and your desk was covered, you know. And
anybody questioning whether this was all right?
We did question it, but because there was a lot of work going on and it was a muddy area that you just took it. It was simple mud. Nobody ever said, hang on a minute, this dust could be toxic. You know, so you drink it, you'd eat it. And
it was also after they closed the steelworks as well. So I think, like for instance, your husband, he was one of the people who were driving the trucks. Did he ever suspect that there was anything at all?
No, it was just the norm. You know, he came home from work, you know, his clothes were caked in mud, and, you know, he used to just whack them off the wall because it was like, oh, I can't put this in the washing machine because there is just so much. And to us, it was just mud from the work site.
There's a scene at the start, isn't there, Maggie, where your character, or you, essentially, take your husband's clothes and you hang them on the washing line and you're beating them with an old carpet.
Tennis
racket, isn't it? And it's an interesting scene because we're sitting there and watching it thinking, well, and we know what that is, but that was just normal life for all of you. You just got on with it.
Yeah, because obviously if we did know what it was, there would be no way I would have done that. You know, So.
And I think one of the things that for all of you, the tragedy was that these children were then born. You tragically lost Shelby Ann, of course. She didn't survive. Your son was born with limb differences. The character Jodie that you play, Susan, her son as well was born with limb differences. I can't imagine how difficult that was when that happens for you, and there's no suspicion at the time that there were external factors that was making that the case.
Nothing at all. We didn't know anything about it. It was only when we saw something a few years later on the news report about the children with deformities, and they mentioned toxic waste, that it was like a jigsaw puzzle being chucked at me, because when we were at the John Radcliffe Hospital with Shelby, where she passed away, the consultants couldn't understand why she was so badly deformed inside under ear. And they actually asked if we worked with toxic waste or had come into contact. But obviously we didn't think we had. You know, neither of us worked with it. if we'd have known at the time that the dust would, we'd have said, well, hang on a minute, yes, but we didn't know. So it wasn't till then that the pieces started to come together for us and we realised.
Because I think also, Maggie, what happens is when something like that happens, when you have a child, you feel... You go, well, what could I have done differently? Did I do something wrong?
Yeah.
Was it this? Was it eating microwave food? Was it...
Yeah.
You must have felt a massive sense of kind of guilt almost.
Yeah, and I think that's it. I think that's one thing that all the mums have said, you know, that was, you know, it's like, what has happened? What's went wrong? Yeah, what have I done wrong? So it's...
So when you've asked all those questions of yourself, to suddenly see this and then a group of mums in the town where you are come together, what was that like, Maggie, when you all suddenly met the other mums and started to...
It was just overwhelming, really. I think the first time we seen it, the local paper, the Evening Telegraph, I kind of read it and I was kind of like, read it again and I was thinking, I said to Derek, is this where you worked? Is this what you... And he was like, yeah, it was. And so it was like hang on a minute, this is way too coincidental that this has happened and, you know, you have worked moving this. You know, Derek had a work van. You know, I used to go in it sometimes. It was just, I lived in a world of mud, really. Well, what I thought was mud, but so it's
and
crazy.
when you all got together, was there a moment where you just felt almost a sense of relief in terms of there are other people in the same situation? And was there an immediate shorthand between you all and a need to actually, you know, find some form of justice, essentially?
I think once we knew that there was more of us and we weren't alone, and all of us knew that the council had done wrong and they were trying to cover it up, and they kept saying, oh, the mums are just doing this for money, they're gold diggers, they're trying to make a name for themselves. And it was questions, you know, little things like that. And then we were like, nah, we're going to fight you all the way and we're going to prove that we are correct in that we've done the reclamation negligently. And that's what we've done. So as a group, we were strong enough to do it, where I think if we'd have been individuals, it would have been different. So, and for me, it was always a case of I felt quite alone because obviously Shelby's case was very different to the other 19 mums. But since Toxic Town's been out, I have got a great sense of comfort because the amount of people that have come forward that have got children and babies born at the same time with heart defects and internal organ defects. I mean, it's heartbreaking to hear.
From the region as well?
Same area.
Could well have been.
Yes. Yeah. So for me, you know, it's really sad that other children have been affected by this, but in a way it's comfort because I know now that Shelby wasn't the only one that had...
Although she wasn't included in the case, was she? Because your lawyer felt like you had more of a chance of winning if it was the children with limb differences rather than her internal organs.
That's right, yeah. And at the end of the day, they had to do what was best for the 18 children because it was what they were about. They need a better quality of life.
Jodie, it's the most remarkable story. They are the most remarkable group of mums as well. And when you get shown a script like that, I can't imagine what you begin to sort of contemplate before you think about even taking it.
I think it's one of those things where there isn't really a question of whether you're going to take it or not. You receive something, particularly, as we know from previous work as well, Jack, who you guys obviously have spent a lot of time with, the writer, is such an extraordinary writer and he's so detailed and he's so respectful if it is material that has come from a real event. But you know that the level of work that has gone into that is beyond. So the opening scene that you read, you're in it, you want to do it. From my point of view, I'm instantly terrified because I think the opening scene is karaoke in a Glaswegian Corby accent. I was like,
and you've got
that
Robert
down.
Carlyle there.
I didn't know that. So I wasn't in eye contact. I was eyeballing Robert at that point. But yeah, so there's things like that where you go, right, OK. But the instantly, something that, you know, has a lot of density within the actual facts of the case. That was that I thought was so cleverly done with the script because it has to be the story that has happened, but in that there is a lot of vocabulary and density to... It's an incredibly cerebral part of the story when you are trying... When, you know, everyone's trying to work out why this has happened. But to make that from... Rather than having, I would say, the most important part of it, which is the mums, be the outside of that, they are the beating heart of the story, and it's from their perspective. And I think that that is the thing that is so important about this, is that it's from the point of view of the families.
It's why it's so compelling, isn't it?
Yeah, and actually the character that you play, Susan, is the real protagonist. I mean, when you say the beating heart, like she really is. And she's kind of, you know, she doesn't move in those circles. She doesn't move in, you know, in the world of law. But somehow she kind of rallies everybody.
Yeah, and I think
gets everybody together.
I think this is the thing that's really brilliant, is that everybody, you know, and having chatted to Susan as well, I feel like I can say this without her being here, that she feels as if this is a representation of you guys in so much as it's not. These characters haven't been diluted, and what I loved about playing Susan was that there is a lioness with and absolutely representative of you guys as well, is that you've got your cubs in your teeth, and no matter how much someone is trying to keep you in a cage, you're like pushing out of it. And I thought it was just so powerful that it didn't mean changing your personality to conform, because it's not only what your guilt is, and I'm only saying this from the actor's point of view, but there was, you know, the suggestion that your behaviour in pregnancy or your lifestyle choices have done this.
Yes.
And even at the last second of, you know, after years and years and people coming together, still to be the people potentially suggestion of blame is horrific.
Especially in those court scenes where they're trying to chip away. Yeah. They're trying to chip away at that confidence. Yeah. The sense of responsibility, though, must have been huge for you and for the rest of the cast.
Yeah, I think for the cast, and I think look, we've all seen as well, you know, we were shooting, I think, or maybe I can't think timing-wise, but we know what powerful television can do. You know, last year it was such a huge event. So in that, you want to know that if you are representing a real-life case, that everybody feels represented. And I think
Mr. Bates in the post office, I think you're talking about.
Yeah, of course, the impact
social dramas.
Of social drama, but that has a life beyond its event. And I think that what was so wonderful for us, because us guys met on set towards the end of filming, and it was like a very, you know, it was a big deal, and it had been long. We were waiting for this day, and we knew the date and everything. And it was on a day that I knew I spoke as well, so I was absolutely terrified that Susan was going to listen, and she didn't strike me as someone that'd keep her opinion inside. But I think it was very emotional for all of us. Yeah. It was, and that photo is beautiful because it is like we are all stood together, and we are side by side together, and we've played pretend, but you know
they lived it.
Yeah, you guys lived it.
Yeah.
Maggie, I wonder what you feel. I mean, it's interesting listening to Tracy say that actually people have contacted us since the drama's come out.
Yeah.
The impact of Toxic Town and what that might lead to.
Wow. You know, we've all been blown away with messages of support, and also, though, messages from people who are concerned that they may have been, you know, affected in, you know, different ways. And so that's another thing that we think is really important, to kind of try and support those people and to, you know, kind of direct them as best we can. You know, I think there is a few journalists looking into, you know, they're trying to kind of find numbers and just see if there is another kind of cluster. And because that's really important to us. And I think mentioning all the other mums as well that were in the story, because obviously they're not all in the drama, but they are at the heart of this as well. And, you know.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing the drama is definitely full of, is heart.
It's just extraordinary. You are extraordinary.
Brilliant.
Did Susan feel like you did her karaoke justice, though? Have you
That was her favourite bit, she said.
Her favourite bit. And her fighting as well.
That and the punch-up.
Yeah, the punch-up. It's an extraordinary
It
drama.
is.
It's gripping. The first one is so heartbreaking, and then
is.
watching the strength that you all have to fight and get that justice. Can't imagine what that day was like when you won the case as well. Thank you for coming in and sharing your story.
Thank
Jodie, it's
you.
amazing. Thank you as well.
Thank you.
For being here. Toxic Town is on Netflix. We can't recommend it enough. Can
No,
we?
it's absolutely brilliant. Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload new content every day, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out, and we'll see you in the morning.
For that, though, it's thought that more than 1 million adults in the UK are living with bipolar disorder. That's about 30% more than the number of people living with dementia.
And yet it remains widely misunderstood and often goes undiagnosed.
Well, Chef Heston Blumenthal has spent his entire life unaware that he has bipolar. That was until his symptoms spiralled out of control.
In honour of Bipolar Awareness Month, Heston joins us now to share his story. Good morning to you.
Good morning, guys.
Thank
Lovely
you.
to see you,
Yeah,
Heston.
it is
Well.
Yeah,
lovely to
likewise.
see you. And you really want to take the stigma away from this and
Yes.
really draw awareness to it as well, because you weren't diagnosed. You spent most of your life just thinking you had ADHD.
Yeah, it was about 13, 14 months ago when I ended up being sectioned. And then I got the diagnosis. I had no idea. I mean, I was diagnosed with ADHD in 2017.
OK.
So there's quite a big crossover between ADHD and bipolar.
Similar symptoms.
Similar symptoms, yes. And so I really didn't think about it until you have these sort of manic highs and then drop into these lows. And when you're on the manic highs, you get this sense of, I don't know, grandiosity. You think I'm Superman, I want to save the world and everything's beautiful and ideas just pouring out. And then something happens and it's a bit like an overactive child that's really having a great time, and then someone moves something and then they have a mini tantrum.
Yeah.
And then you can go into this sort of, let's say, darker moments. And I think that I was so consumed when on the manic highs.
Yeah.
I didn't really think about it that much. And someone asked me, now, it was the best thing that could happen, being sectioned. My wife had me sectioned.
It was very brave of her, though.
And I imagine awful for all of you at the same time.
Yeah, she didn't know if I'd blame her so much that there was resentment built up, but it saved my life. The best thing that could have happened to me. So I spent 2 months in there, then off on medications that are continually being tweaked. And I can look back and think, blimey, with those highs and those lows, now I'm definitely in the process of stabilising.
Yeah. Your career, which we all know, we've been lucky enough to work with you and eat with you in the past, Heston.
Best in the world.
And of course, there was so much involved in that I imagine that when you look back, some of the symptoms of your ADHD and even the bipolar were probably focused or suppressed because of the hours and the commitment and the effort and the focus that you put into your cooking.
I wasn't sure if how much of it was related even to ADHD. I mean, I was so exhausted at one point, this is years ago. I was caramelising a lemon tart. So you get the blowtorch, turn the gas on, press the button and light the blowtorch, and then caramelise it with the sugar. So I turned the gas on, I walked to the hot tap, and I remember thinking, I can't possibly light a blowtorch with cold water. It was like something out of Alice in Wonderland.
Wow.
But I was that tired, it was sort of delirious. But I don't know if that's because the drive of the cooking, being immersed in that and that imagination and creativity.
Yeah.
Because you were working 120 hours a week.
Yeah.
And sleeping 20.
20, yes. I don't know how I did it.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's a lot of talk about what happens to your imagination and creativity. I can say now, so after the period of coming out of hospital, I was a bit zombified with the medication.
Because they have to get the balance, right?
To get the balance. There's bit by bit, then returning to you still have highs and lows, but they're nothing like they are before. And the imagination is still there, which is fantastic. I'm back at the Duck now.
Are you?
Yeah.
So you're back creating, you're back part of the team, you're back coming up with ideas?
Yes.
Which must be really, really relieving, a relief and satisfaction.
Oh, yeah. Completely.
I've seen interviews with you as well, because you have been very, very open about this. You really kind of want to get the word out there, because the moment you have a diagnosis, I think you can start to deal with things in a very practical way.
It's so important. A lot of people don't know. And if you think about, you said there's 1.2 million people with bipolar, but you know, there could easily be double or more than that haven't been diagnosed. But we've got to remember the people that, the loved ones, if someone's got the diagnosis or not, but they're bipolar, they're close friends that care about them. It can be really damaging for them.
Yeah.
How did, I mean, Heston, what happened that meant that suddenly things started unravelling and these manic episodes became more prevalent? Had you stepped away from as much cooking, so you had a bit more time on your hands?
Yes, that's one really good point. I started also in the darker moments. There was sort of suicidal thoughts, and I realised after it's quite a classic symptom of being in a mania stage where you can hallucinate sound and smell and touch, and I saw a gun on the table. And I told my wife, which obviously was, for me, it all seemed quite normal. I look back at it, there was nothing normal about it. However, I remember seeing an interview that Stephen Fry did. And he said, he asked 30 to 40 people, if there was a button that you could press that would turn off your ADHD, turn off your bipolar, would you press it?
Yeah.
And only one person said, yes, I'd press it.
Really? So all those people with bipolar said that they wouldn't?
Yeah, there are lots of positives. It's just not fair. On eventually, you're going to do some damage to yourself, and it's going to affect the people you love.
And I think it's your wife's father that's a therapist.
He was involved. He was involved in mental health.
Yeah. So they could see what was happening, and it was your wife that sectioned you. But was it then that the conversation started talking about, look, Heston really needs help? There could be a scenario where he has something like bipolar.
Yes, and I didn't believe them.
Not?
I thought it was all nonsense. So I got my diagnosis within the first week of being in hospital, and because I was in there for 2 months, I was being monitored. And I was just surprised when I had it.
Dr. Nigat's here as well.
Yeah.
And Dr. Nigat, hearing Heston talk, and he's so open and honest about it, which shows an awful lot of courage, but the importance of sharing. What is interesting is getting that diagnosis of bipolar, how important it was to him, but also how difficult it is for people to get the diagnosis. Why is that?
And it's an ongoing problem at the moment. In 2023, the NICE guidelines were updated, but actually what we don't have still yet is a national register or a quality outcome framework, or QOF, that GPs then can follow up patients and look at the assessment, and then referral systems and the outcomes of that. It takes 9.5 years for a patient to get diagnosed with bipolar. And so when we don't have a meaningful way of getting those assessments done, patients can be within the system waiting for that diagnosis, and we pick them up at crisis, as we did with Heston. And the other reason why it's so difficult to diagnose is because there's actually 3 different types of bipolar disorders. And you get type 1, where you can have depression, you can have hypomania or mania. Type 2, which you can get long periods of depression and long periods of hypomania. And actually it depends where we pick you up on that phase, because it could be just diagnosed as a depressive disorder on our letters. And then the other thing, it could be cyclothymia, which means you can get long periods of depression or just be in hypomania, and that can last up to 2 years at a time. So essentially the diagnosis of bipolar is made by looking through the notes, as they did with Heston, once they followed up his pattern of behaviour. And it's a histrionic, it's looking back over his life and going, oh, actually, we need to consider this as a diagnosis.
So, Nigat, if those symptoms are resonating with anybody, what should they do? What should the next steps be?
The first thing is that I would say keep a symptom diary, have a look in your family if there is other family members that could have the condition. Your family will also give you a really good collateral history as well. There is a screening tool which is backed up by the NHS and also the Bipolar UK charity as well, which actually I'm just going to very quickly check the name of, which is a mood disorder questionnaire. Now, I don't say that people should self-diagnose. That's always really difficult, because once you start putting labels on yourself, it can be really hard. It can be stagnating in how we can actually look at a diagnosis. But that mood questionnaire could actually give you some insight into where you are and how your symptoms are affecting your lifestyle, your work, your relationships. And then also, I always say this to my patients, you have something in your pocket on a daily basis, which is your mobile phone. So I know it's really awkward and it can be difficult, difficult, but record those moments of hypomania or those moments of severe low mood, because when you come and see us, we have now what's known as a single point of access in the NHS. We have what's known as the accurate system. So you can send me your video or send me your photograph as your GP, and we can attach that to the referral, because the referral system to secondary care, like our psychiatry colleagues, is all based on who needs the most immediate help and etc. So that can be really helpful.
Thanks, Nick.
Really important that they reach out as well,
Yes.
Heston. You'd agree with that. If you think if there's family members that are concerned about the behaviour of somebody, because as you said, you completely flatly denied that it was happening. You couldn't see what they were talking about.
It's so important. It takes an average 9.5 years to get a diagnosis. When you bear in mind that the levels of suicide, well, especially when you cross over with ADHD, they go up, I don't know, tenfold or something like that. So 9 years is an awful long time for people to suffer suicidal thoughts and depression. It's a very sort of tricky disease.
And it's also not something to be frightened of, too.
Sorry, I just said disease. It's not a disease.
Yeah.
it's a condition. And don't be frightened of it.
No, because actually it's one of the things that absolutely makes you who you are.
Yes.
And the level of creativity and passion that you have about making
magic,
what you do.
the skill.
The Willy Wonka.
Yeah. Yes.
As Roald Dahl's wife said.
Heston cooked for on the Channel 4. You did Channel 4 show, and I was lucky enough to go. And we were talking about Roald Dahl's wife, who sat down with you and said, "I wish my husband had met the real life."
Had been alive.
Yes.
And that night, you created this edible wallpaper.
Yeah, we stuck it on with apple pectin.
That's right.
And then flocked the wallpaper. There was a sausage.
Yes, there was sausage flavour. Some fruit.
Cheese and pineapple.
Cheese and pineapple.
And then you had these. The flocking was in the shape of the food.
So the pattern, and we were all there licking the walls, just thinking this is. It was one of the most wonderful meals I have ever eaten and I will ever eat, Heston.
Oh, thank you so much.
And it's lovely to hear you're back in the kitchen.
Yeah.
You feel like that creativity's there.
Yes.
You're still very busy and enjoying that part of your life.
Yeah, thankfully.
Brilliant.
Yeah, we're thankful too.
Thank you for coming this morning.
A pleasure, thank you.
Thank you very much.
So, look, if you would like to know more about bipolar disorder, then the information in the helpline are all available on
Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload new content every day, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out, and we'll see you in the morning.
Louise Woodfield sat down to watch an episode of First Dates. She was expecting to see more hopeful Singertons try and find love. What she wasn't expecting was to find a long-lost sister.
One of the diners, Katie Kumar, caught Louise's attention after telling her date that she was adopted. And as her familiar story unfolded, she found herself asking, could this be my sister?
Well, Katie and Louise join us now to share their story. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
And the reality is, Louise, I don't want to give it away, but she was your sister.
Yeah.
It is the most miraculous, serendipitous coincidence, chance, whatever you want to put it.
It's great.
Lovely video.
Thank you.
Lovely.
But just explain a little bit, Louise. Are you a big fan of First Dates?
No, it's crazy as well, because I literally never watch TV, like, unless it's like a film on Netflix or whatever.
Yeah.
So just happened by chance.
And it's just happened to have it on. And Katie, from your perspective, why did you decide to go on First Dates?
I think for me, I was at a performing arts college and, you know, we all like to be out there, and I just thought it's a bit of fun. Yeah. And also I wanted to share my story about being adopted. I'm very open about it. And I'm really glad I had, because now I found Louise.
So what did you do? Did you just open up on the show, and what did you say? How much did you know about your family?
So when I was adopted, we get a birth box with a little bit of information, but not too much.
Okay.
My mum was a little bit nervous about me going on, and, you know, because it can open up a can of worms. You never know who's going to reach out or, you know, who's going to watch. But, yeah, that was it, really.
So you went on.
Yeah.
You said to the producers you'd like to be able to share the story. They were happy for you to do that. And were you sharing it in the hope that maybe you might find your sister, or were you just sharing it because you thought, look, it's interesting content and I want to share it with the young lad that I was on a date with?
A little bit of both, and also, you know, I feel like First Dates, as we all know, it's a loving, kind show.
Yes,
they look
very.
after you, and I felt safe to do so.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm really happy that I have, because on our recent post, people have shared their story, and I feel like it's a little community and, you know, a safe space for everyone to share.
This is since the two of you have shared what happened, because it was a few years ago. So what happened then, Louise? You just happened to have it on in the background. As you say, you don't really watch television. What suddenly made you stop and think, hold on a second, that story sounds familiar?
So I always knew that I had a sister and that her name was Katie. There was a 2-year age gap between us. And I knew we were half Afghan as well. So I was with my friend at the time and I was watching Katie's episode that she was on. And literally, I remember her saying that she was adopted. Her name was Katie, her age, and that she was from Birmingham as well.
Yeah.
I literally remember turning around to my friend at the time and I said, I'm going to sound crazy, but I think that's my sister. And I think she, like, laughed at me. Yeah, but then I said, I'm going to message her because I've got nothing to lose. Like, the worst thing she can say is no, like, yeah.
Yeah. So then you decided to message her. How did you actually get in touch? What did you write on the message? Because that's a really big icebreaker. It's like, hello.
I was watching you on telly. I think you're my sister.
Yeah, I think I just said, like, hi, I know this is, like, a weird message to have, whatever. I said, but I think you're my sister. Like, I'm also half Afghan. Yeah, to be honest, I didn't really expect a reply either. So when I got it, I was just in shock.
Wow. And so, Katie, did you reply immediately or did you kind of look at it and go, this is very close to home?
Yeah, so I was getting quite a few messages at that time just because people were being really kind about the show. And so I was a little bit apprehensive, a little bit confused. I was a bit like, is this real? Because you never know. So I ran downstairs and I went to my mum, look at this. I was like, is this true? Like, could this be? And she was like, this could be. Like, and then we looked in my box and Louise, our birth mum's names matched our dad's, everything. And it was just crazy. Yeah.
And so then what was the next step? Did you decide to meet up together?
Yeah.
Did you go, because actually you just lived down the road from each other as well in your foster families.
Yeah. So within like 2 days he came over, didn't you? And both our parents were foster carers. So we're used to having children and meeting people.
Yeah.
My mum just welcomed you in like her own and it just felt so natural.
What's that moment like for both of you, though, when you know that Louise is coming around, Katie, you know you're going to see this person that you've waited your whole life to meet? How did you feel?
I was nervous at first on my way, but as soon as I got there, like, it was so special, like, and comfortable as well. Like, we didn't have an awkward phase or nothing, did we?
No, and I think for me, I was more excited to see somebody that would look like me a little bit. Do you know, I was like, it was a little bit weird at first, not in a bad way at all, but I just felt like it was really cool.
Did you find yourself staring at each other, just looking at each other's eyes, looking at each other's features?
Yeah, that's what I was so fascinated by it all. It was crazy.
Yeah. And so now what's your relationship like? Because I'm guessing that you're all of a sudden like, I want to catch up with all those years that we've missed out on. And I think being sisters as well, you would have been so close too. So what's the relationship like now?
Well, we're making up for it now.
Yeah.
I feel like we have made up for it. And, we've never been as close.
Yeah, we hang out all the time. I feel like we both needed this as well. And, yeah.
It's amazing because actually this was a few years ago, wasn't it? And it was only recently that the two of you decided to share the story on TikTok.
Yeah.
And it's all blown up since. How are you dealing with the attention and everyone suddenly needing to know about this extraordinary coincidence, this family reunion?
I don't think we expected to get the reaction that we got.
Definitely not. I mean, overnight it just kept growing and growing and growing. But at the same time, I really am glad that I shared it because more people have commented how they want to find their siblings or have found, and it's just really nice to see.
Yeah, I think it gives
interesting.
And it gives other people hope as well. And in the strangest circumstances, these crazy things can happen. Do you have any other siblings as well?
We do. We have 3 older. We only have a small amount of information in our birth books, but
Would you like to meet them? Is there ambition to do that, or are you just happy connecting with each other?
If they reach out,
I think
And do you know much about your birth mum?
Yes, not too much. We've got a little bit of a description, but not too much, really.
No.
It sounds so lovely seeing the two of you together. I mean, before we came on, you're all connected as well because you're all Brummies.
Yeah.
You think your head teacher might be a relation of yours?
Oh, like a cousin was mine, and then she lives just down the road from where we used to live. It's crazy.
It is crazy.
So what are your plans for the future? What are you planning to do together? Are you going to go off and have, like, amazing adventures and stuff?
Yes, I think at the time when Louise reached out, I was only 17. So now I'm a bit older and we can do more fun things together, travel and make up all for them years.
Yeah, you've got to do it. You've got to go on adventures now together. Well, it's great to see you this morning.
It really is.
And congratulations on finding each other.
Thank you.
Yeah, keep sharing those adventures.
Yeah.
We'll love it.
Absolutely. Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload new content every day, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out. And we'll see you in the morning.
Well, as Alison shares her story in the new ITV documentary, The Undercover Police Scandal, Love and Lies Exposed, she joins us now in the studio. Alison, thank you for coming in.
Pleasure.
It is a truly gripping and extraordinary documentary. We've watched it, and from start to finish, jaws on the floor, trying to comprehend what it is that you and these other women have been through. Let's just go back, though, to that time when you first met him, you first met Mark, and what was going on in your life and how he came to be a part of it.
I was a school teacher, English and media studies teacher, which is how I came to have that much video footage, had a video camera. I was a member of a campaigning group in Hackney. We were campaigning about anti-racism, anti-fascism, sort of things you're supposed to be against. And one day he turned up at a meeting accompanied by somebody who'd met him at a demonstration, and he said he was interested in what we were doing.
Did you think at any point, Alison, that the things that you were campaigning against were so out there that you needed undercover police, like, were the things that you were doing would be against the law or the sort of thing that would gain that sort of attention from the police?
If you're political and you're involved in political activity, particularly on the left, most people kind of thought there were undercover police at demonstrations, maybe even at public meetings, monitoring, keeping an eye. No one expected that they were going to be in your bed and having short-term sexual, intimate relationships. So, no, I don't think anyone thought that.
And this was the thing. I mean, this was a proper, long-term, legitimate relationship. I mean, you fell kind of head over heels for him. He moved into your house. Tell me about that.
Yeah, we were together for 5 years.
Yeah.
He was completely integrated into my life and my family. And what you see, from those videos, he was one of the family. It was we were planning to have children, and upsetting and distressing though that story is for me on a personal level, and was certainly when I first found out, I'm not the only one. You know, what we know is that there are more than 60 women to whom this has happened, probably more. And it wasn't, the police tried to tell us at the beginning that this was a rogue officer. And what we can see really clearly now is that this was systemic.
So when did it start to unravel then? When did you start to get suspicious?
Not until after he left. They're professional liars. They're trained, they're funded by taxpayers. We pay for this work. They have proper false passports, false national insurance numbers.
You found a credit card, though, in the coat, didn't you? Right. But he somehow managed to just explain that away. What happened?
Yeah, he went out one morning to get breakfast, and I thought there was something he was keeping from me. I didn't think it was this, but I thought that he maybe was involved in a group that I wasn't involved in, and I didn't know. And I looked for it. Doesn't reflect that well, but I looked in his jacket that he left behind, and I found a bank card, and it was in a different name. It was in the name of M. Jenner. And when he came back, I was like, what is this? And he said, I bought it off a bloke in a pub. It was stolen. I'm an idiot. I shouldn't have done it. And I was a teacher. What do I know about buying stolen credit cards off men in pubs? I really know nothing. Yeah. So he said, I'm an idiot. Please never tell anyone. Please, I'm going to cut. I then cut it up. And that was it. And I didn't think about it again until after he left. And when he left, with a note on the table, it was like, that's not how you leave a 5-year relationship, not in my world. No. So I need to make sense of that. And to do that, I need to speak to people who knew him. That took me to looking in my address book for his grandfather's number. that was really hard scribbled out.
Because you were supposed to go and visit his grandfather. That was the one bit of family tie that you were actually supposed to go and see him. And then on the day, he just managed to say, oh, no, he's got the dates wrong. That's not right.
It became apparent that he didn't want to be found. And if someone doesn't want to be found, then that makes me ask questions like, why? What's going on?
So you've done all the detective work. You've become the sort of, as part of this group, to try and work out what it is that he was doing. It's about 25 years. Do you know, what more do you know about him now?
I know quite a lot more about him now, but in a way, it's not that I don't want to answer that question, because I think a lot of that is in the documentary that I hope people will watch. But it's not about him. You know, he was part of a machine, if you like. He had managers. There was a back office. There was a manual that told them how to manage this deceit. And so what we found out about the whole unit is that they were hoovering up intelligence on everybody who was involved in a progressive movement. This wasn't about prosecuting people. This wasn't about putting people through the criminal justice system. This was about simply surveying. It's like the Stasi. I mean, it's not, you know, I don't want to be hyperbolic. I don't want to be alarmist.
No.
But it is akin to the Stasi. They have, you know, people will say, like, why you? What were you doing? And actually, it's like, they were doing it to everybody. They were anyone who was, if you're in CND, if you're in the anti-apartheid movement, if you're in the Socialist Workers' Party, which, you know, is a left-wing group, but they're like a placard.
Yeah.
They make placards for demonstrations.
And it basically happened to all these different women. You think there's around 60 women?
Yeah.
And it was all very, very similar, wasn't it?
Yeah.
There was always a chap who had a van who could go to the movements. They always left with a letter that's been written. But you were quite lucky in the fact that your life moved on and you moved forward and your circumstances changed. But there are other women that actually never went on to have children and their lives were really turned upside down and ruined.
Yeah, and I think sometimes, you know, there have been women who have had children with undercover police officers, and people are rightly horrified by that. But I think something that we don't look at so much is the women who've had their most fertile years stolen from them and lost the opportunity to have children because of those years, and also because they've had their trust so fundamentally undermined. And what we're seeing is that the unit and the police, it was the Met Police, were institutionally misogynistic and sexist. Women were used either as props to shore up these men's fake identity. I was a trusted individual. People would have assumed that because he was in my life so much, my family life, that I'd probably met his family. They were either used as props or they were specifically targeted because they were, I'm not talking about myself here so much, but they were, you know, very competent, strong activists who were targeted to be derailed and undermined, so their activity was undermined.
We've got some right to reply, which we have to offer. This is from the CPS. We wholly sympathise with the plight of those who unknowingly entered into deceptive relationships. Each case is decided on its own facts, and having carefully reviewed evidence provided by police in relation to allegations against undercover officers, we concluded our legal test for prosecution was not met in this case for any criminal offences. This is the Met Police Deputy Assistant Commissioner, John Saville. I'd like to apologise again unreservedly for the significant harm and distress caused to the women who were deceived into sexual relationships by undercover officers. These relationships were abusive, deceitful, manipulative and wrong. While it should have been obvious to all undercover officers that sexual relationships were unacceptable, the Met failed to make this clear and provide training and guidance. And then the Home Office said evidence heard by the undercover police inquiries highlighted the distressing impact undercover policing has had in the past on victims, which must never be repeated. It's important that the ongoing independent inquiry uncovers the truth. It is vital the accountability and closure victims need is delivered swiftly and fairly. Do you think you're going to get there? It's a lot of
words.
Do you think you're going to get there?
Well, I think it's very nice that they've apologised. That's lovely. Thank you very much. The CPS say that they wouldn't prosecute because these relationships were based on genuine feelings, number one. We would argue that's not the right question. It's completely irrelevant. And unfortunately, new laws have come in that have sort of reversed, have enshrined in law what we're campaigning against. So the guidelines, the police guidelines have changed to make this now unacceptable, but it's still not illegal. So
it's also cost 64 million so far for it's gone up to
between 88 and 100 million, yeah.
For the investigation.
You can watch the Undercover Police scandal, Love and Lies Exposed, on Thursday at 9 o'clock on ITV1, ITVX and STV Player. Thank you. Oh, hello. Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload tons of new content every single day. So hit the subscribe button, like all the videos and don't miss out. We'll see you in the morning.